What bad intentions could Batman have? This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51, The Riddler, Part 2. Prisoner, Edward Nygma. You must remain completely silent. Any conversation, noise, movement, any resistance, will be punished quickly and severely. Now, in preparation for your assignment to Prison Block C, please put your hands in front of you. Jim Gordon was preparing to put on the straitjacket for the Riddler himself. This is a top-grade prisoner transport vehicle. In addition to the reinforced body and bulletproof glass, the doors and windows are reinforced with metal protective materials to ensure that the prisoners being transported cannot escape. In the huge carriage, more than 20 armed police officers armed to the teeth are on guard. Each of them is wearing a bulletproof vest and holding a rifle. Gordon is very sure that with such an escort lineup, even the Riddler cannot escape. Probably. Have you talked to him? The Riddler said, "Are you so hasty to transfer me to Arkham? I don't like to come up and warn first." Commissioner Gordon said, "Why don't we start directly with the threat of rubber bullets?" He said to the policeman next to him, "Let him kneel down." The policeman next to him pointed his gun at the Riddler. Click, 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 click. 5 or 6 guns were aimed at the Riddler's forehead almost at the same time, and the red laser dot fell on his head, which made him look even more terrifying. "Let's guess a riddle," the Riddler said. "How long does it take to escape from the cage? 10 seconds? 15 seconds? Half a minute? An hour? Or even a lifetime?" Gordon felt a strange chill, which climbed from the soles of his feet to his tailbone. "The answer is 20 seconds. Shut up, you." Jim Gordon realized what the other party was going to do, but it was too late now. "Hey, Andrew. Wait a minute. Don't listen to Gordon. Remember that you have 3 children, Maya, Caroline and Caitlin, who are attending Bright Community School in Conway." Hearing the familiar name, the muzzle of the policeman's gun immediately sank slightly. "And, I have escaped from Arkham more than a dozen times, and I will escape again. I will find them and kill them." "What?" the soldier whispered. A great fear gripped Commissioner Gordon's heart. "Officer, you are given orders, not choices." "Chris, does Commissioner Gordon know that you have been secretly accepting bribes from Two-Face behind his back? You are also involved in Black Mask's powder selling network, but you may have forgotten that Harvey Dent is a former district attorney, and the district attorney is accustomed to collecting all criminal evidence. So here comes the most interesting part. The evidence he collected is enough to keep you in Blackgate prison for 100 years. And I have the evidence, my dear Chris. If you don't do what I say, everything you have done will be exposed immediately." "Oh shit, I didn't realize that your colleagues seem to have heard your shit. This is bad. They all know what you have done, and they will report you as soon as they go back. Do you really want to go to prison and stay with those prisoners you have arrested? How about I come up with a good solution? What do you think of the idea of killing everyone present to ensure that the secret will not be exposed? Of course, you have to protect me, otherwise once I die, your secret will be exposed as well." Gordon saw Chris's gun barrel tremble twice. "Chris, don't believe in riddles." Before Gordon finished speaking, he saw Chris pointing the gun at himself. "What the hell?" Jim Gordon cursed. "Hurry up and shut his mouth, Daryl, Joel, Christopher, Raphael, Ron, Connor, Josh. It's as if I know all of you, as well as your dear, sweet, and soon to die families, and your darkest, deepest, and most shameful secrets. It feels as if this is the first time we've met." The Riddler said, "This is an interesting riddle." Bang! A policeman suddenly shot his comrade's head with a shot without warning, and as the sound of the out-of-control people's shooting began to sound, the situation was completely led to an unmanageable chaos. The bullet passed through the flesh, drilled through the texture, and stopped on the bones. The other policemen fell down without a word. They were all professional policemen from the same system. Everyone knew each other's tricks. That is, to strike first and be strong. It started. The Riddler said, "No, put your gun down, do you hear me?" Commissioner Gordon was still trying to stop him, but it was useless. "Put it down, I heard it." You heard it too. I have a asterisk ash hash percent at ash asterisk child. I will never let a psychopath like Edward Nygma walk out of this car. Everyone. You must stop. Daryl, put your weapons down. Put them down now. I'm not kidding you. Bang. Who is the first and last time you met him? Arkham Guard. The Riddler lay on the ground, leisurely putting his hands behind his head. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of fierce gunfire. Oh, no, too specific. You have to be here. Bang, bang. What guy could you meet once and never see again? A bunch of dumb cops with bullets in their heads. Boom. No, I don't. It's depressing. That's why I have to talk to him. He just makes everything make sense. Jim Gordon knelt in a pool of blood. Oh my god. Gordon, can you contact him again? I would be very grateful. Impossible. Joker, you are committing suicide. Scarecrow said, Batman has set a trap waiting for you to go back. I will not go with you. No way. What do you mean, no way? I mean the target is too small. Joker. After we joined forces, we agreed to destroy the entire city. Not just one person. But this city, you idiot, is his. Once we get rid of him, Gotham will be ours. And, even for ourselves, we have to do this. We can't let that outsider Bane take away Batman's attention from us. So you are going to go there like an idiot? I don't understand what Batman's attention means to us. How does it help the plan? Give up this idea, you Joker. I'm tired of your dictatorship. The Joker's face darkened. You have decided, is that right? Then in an instant, he punched Scarecrow in the face without any warning. You actually hit me for Batman. Very unwise move. The Scarecrow staggered back 2 steps and raised the fear venom in his hand. I can pinch him anytime I want. Ha 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 ha. Your fear venom? The Joker laughed wildly. I'm looking forward to it. Chapter 52 Nuclear Bomb. The Scarecrow found that he had made a mistake. He intended to unite the Joker, this powerful colleague, but he forgot that the other party was a lunatic. And a lunatic would not care about the plan. Of course, he, the Scarecrow, was also a lunatic. Damn it. That's why he was lying on the ground with a bruised face. The fear gas had no effect on the Joker, but the Joker did not kill him, but just beat him, so that he lay here in disgrace, like a dying Shiba Inu. Wow. It seems that I'm not here at the right time. Someone pushed the door in. The Scarecrow saw a pair of feet first. Brown leather boots, grey and white windbreaker. But when the Scarecrow looked up, he found that the other party was his old friend, Edward Nygma, the Riddler. It was strange that Nygma was not wearing his iconic green coat full of question marks, the question mark cane and the iconic eye mask, and the green hat. He was only wearing casual clothes, like a clerk who had just got off work. Wow, what's going on? I heard that the Joker is with you. That's really troublesome. This is a little beyond my expectation. Scarecrow saw Riddler squatting down, and then said, can you tell me where the Joker went? Really, the plan is halfway through. If the leading actor just runs away, then the fun will not go on. Scarecrow barely stood up. He saw the figures following the Riddler, movie freak, amygdala, yes, and ventriloquist and Killer Croc. They were all prisoners who escaped from Arkham Asylum. When did the Riddler recruit them? But what attracted Scarecrow's attention the most was the big living person in Killer Croc's hand. You got Jim Gordon. This surprises me. Nygma, what on earth do you want to do? Ding ding ding. Chen Tao's cell phone on his waist rang. He stood up and said, excuse me, Mr. March. I think we should stop here today. We have reached a consensus on cooperation, and I believe we will be as harmonious as a family in the future. Lincoln March began to struggle again. The word family seemed to imply something, but it seemed to be just a normal metaphor. He walked out of the door of the old Wayne Tower with a lot of questions and melancholy, and then shook his head at the shadow on the rooftop in the distance. The operation was cancelled. He originally planned to use a false assassination launched by the Claws to bring Lincoln and Bruce closer, and by the way, clear the doubts about Lincoln, so that Batman would think that they were in the same camp, but now all this should be postponed. His mind was in a mess, and he didn't even have the mood to find out who had just called Batman. He just wanted to be quiet now. Today he heard a story that was completely different from what the court told him. Although he was a traitor who had long been rebellious, it still had a huge enough impact on him. A few minutes later, under the pull of the hook rope, Chen Tao landed lightly on the rooftop of a building. This looked like a rooftop of a residential building, with clothes hanging on it. Thanks to Bane Bat's memory, he finally learned how to use the grappling hook gun. Chen Tao silently untransformed the muscles of the Batman on his limbs, and then quietly walked behind the two people standing on the edge of the rooftop. Chen Tao pressed his finger against the communicator. "I'm here, Killer Croc." Wow. Killer Croc jumped up from where he was in shock and almost fell off the edge of the rooftop. "Damn Batman. I mean the boss." Chen Tao ignored him. "Oswald?" The short figure standing next to Killer Croc was a penguin. He looked serious. "Batman, we are in big trouble." Chen Tao didn't say anything. He stared at the other person. The penguin knew that this meant speak quickly. "Something was stolen from me. It's a bomb." "Ha, what's the big deal? Don't you get stolen from often?" "I'm used to it," Killer Croc said carelessly. "Haha, I know you're always stolen from, and you're always robbed." He continued to make a not so smart voice. "I thought you were asking me to contact Batman for you in a mysterious way, but it turns out to be just this. It's not common for you to get robbed. People who are poor sometimes rob you. I've stolen from you before." "Shut up. Let the penguin talk." "Oh, okay." Killer Croc covered his face with his palms as big as a palm leaf fan, leaving only two eyes flashing outside. The penguin stared at Killer Croc angrily, and then said, "But what was robbed this time was a nuclear bomb?" Question mark? "What?" Killer Croc snorted. He covered his mouth, and the sound rushed out of his ears. "I said that what was robbed this time was a nuclear bomb. Damn it, Jesus God," the penguin said very quickly. "I have been hiding it in the warehouse. What fake?" "Penguin, you hid a nuclear bomb, and you actually sold nuclear bombs?" Killer Croc shouted loudly. "For so many years, we have been living on a nuclear bomb. The Joker is a psychopath. You are the one who is crazy. The Joker should kowtow to you whenever he sees you." The penguin's face turned red with anger. "Enough. That's not for sale." "Selling nuclear bombs? Can that be called selling nuclear bombs? That's called selling arms." The short penguin was so righteous that the momentum he burst out in an instant actually suppressed Killer Croc. The big green-scaled man turned half of his body and grumbled aggrievedly. "I know you have always been an arms dealer, but I thought arms generally refer to grenades, submachine guns and rocket launchers, not tanks, armed helicopters, jet fighters and nuclear weapons." As he spoke, the big green man began to complain confidently. "I thought the business of selling tanks and fighter jets was already the most outrageous arms trade in the world. The goods flowed out when the country disintegrated." Penguin explained. "It was just a coincidence, not a stable source of goods. It happened a long time ago. I was not very strong at the time, so I only got two." "Ward fake. Wait, you got two?" Killer Croc suddenly found a bright spot. "It's okay, only one was stolen." "Oh, I see. What about the other one?" "I sold it. Not for sale." Killer Croc whispered. "Although I know it's not good to ask these questions, I still want to find out quietly. How much did you sell it for?" Penguin thought for a moment and held up 5 fingers. 50 million. 500 million. Chen Tao estimated in his mind that the cost of the Justice League's watchtower was about 500 billion, and this nuclear bomb was sold for about 1,000th of the watchtower. A bat plane costs about 5 billion, and this nuclear bomb was sold for 1/10th of the plane's money. You sell such a dangerous thing just for such a small amount of money? Chen Tao felt tired. All the people I arranged in the warehouse were killed. They didn't know what they were guarding. Penguin said, "One knife to the throat killed them. A professional killer level method. They died before they could react. It's impossible to tell who did it from the scene. Victor Sass? Or an assassin from the Shadow Warrior League? Or some master of swordsmanship?" He said, "I have no idea at all. Batman, this matter is no longer at the level I can handle. I'm a criminal, but not a psychopath. I bought the nuclear bomb just to sell it." He said, "Whether it's the Joker, Bane, Scarecrow, or the Riddler, it's not important now." He said, "If we can't find this nuclear bomb, and it goes off in Gotham," he said, "then it's all over." Batman. Chapter 53 Batman and the Joker. On the way here, the Joker had imagined countless times what kind of trap Batman would set. He knew that, after arriving at the address on the paper, Batman might be waiting for him there. And what about him? He hadn't prepared anything. No hostages, no piranhas that were laughing wildly, and not even a bomb ready to explode. He hadn't even killed anyone for the bat. He should have stood in the middle of dozens of grinning corpses, applauding the belated Batman, offering his most beloved dulling the daily greetings from Gotham, and then spraying him with acid corsages, or throwing clown explosives, like a girl in her first love giving her lover a kiss. Then his bat would give him his favorite big slap in the face, like a lover lovingly scratching the girl's small and delicate nose, and then send him to Arkham in a refreshing beating. He might get some roses, beaten to the point of vomiting blood, a few kisses, broken ribs, or a climax that almost strangled him to death. But now there is none of these, no explosives, no hostages, just like before a wonderful night. There is no movie, candlelight dinner, romantic date and fireworks display, but it is simply and crudely fast forwarded to the two sitting on the bed together, looking at each other. But it doesn't matter, right? Because this is what Batman wants. Mayor Carroll is just a tattered dress. No matter how he, or she, wears it, he can't seduce Batman. Then this dress is a rotten dress. The girl's heart is full of anxiety. She feels that her lover's love is slipping away, but she doesn't know how to save it. Even Mayor Carroll's hollow black silk rabbit ear miniskirt can't seduce her lover, so can hostages or explosives, candlelight dinners and wedding wine win the favor of his lover? But there is no time to plan a fireworks display such as releasing laughing gas in the city center or the reservoir, or blowing up some buildings. Oh, and Bane, that little bitch, huh? Hateful third party, but she was a generous person. She would not rush over and scratch the other person's face. She restrained herself. That would ruin her lover's mood. Oh, so now the pale-skinned girl was a little entangled again. She felt that she seemed a little cheap, like those people waiting for business on the street. Batman waved and sent them up, without any reserve and shame. But who told him to hate Batman? He couldn't tolerate Batman ignoring him, and he couldn't tolerate Gordon or those boring policemen to defile him. So, if Batman won't come, then he will send himself to the door, even if he is regarded as stupid. Even a cruel visit is better than the mildest ignoring. And then, now, no. The Joker staggered back. Things shouldn't be like this. No. The Joker rushed towards Chen Tao. Chen Tao didn't hide. He saw that this was not a hysterical attack, but just an incredible touch. Who are you? What the hell are you? Give me back my bat. Ha 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 ha, don't you understand? I'm Batman. The silver white particles trembled, and the Joker saw the face of Batman suddenly appear, and then disappeared again in an instant. You. The Joker felt that he was hit hard on the face. He saw the pale freak with purple hair opposite him raise the crowbar in his hand high, and beat him again and again. There was no sweet love like Batman, only cold malice and cruelty that hit people's souls directly. The comfortable feeling was gone, and there was only deep pain. He felt Batman holding his collar and lifting him up. He was dragged by Batman and taken to the corner of the room. The Joker saw Batman, no, the pale monster that Batman turned into, opened the wooden box in the corner. A Batman uniform? The Joker said, oh my god. His tone was normal and calm. His mouth was drooping, even though the cut at the corner of his mouth made him look weird and scary when he made such a calm expression, but the Joker didn't care about it at all. He heard Batman's strange laugh. Ha 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 ha. The Joker's whole body was cold. He never thought that his familiar laugh would sound so scary. I've been thinking, Joker, tell me, what is winning? The Joker heard the pale freak Batman turned into laughed crazily. Let's get straight to the heart of the matter, okay? Black little heart, beating. Why didn't I kill you? Then his head turned back into Batman's head in a silver white. The beautiful bat head with pointy ears was simply and roughly installed on the purple suit body, mocking everyone. In every deepest nightmare of Gotham, even in a twisted head like the Joker, there has never been such a terrifying scene. Because then you win. Batman's voice was low and dark. The call of his beloved was gentle and hoarse. He lowered his head with a face full of compassion. Batman, it's you. What happened? What happened? I can't control myself. No, honey, I'm here. Batman, you can never be defeated. You won't. The Joker stretched out his hand tremblingly. His 5 fingers were twisted in the violent beating, like a twisted dough stick. But the Joker didn't feel any pain at all. As long as there is Batman, as long as Batman is still there, no matter what kind of predicament Batman falls into, Batman will always win. Batman will always be able to defeat him, defeat anyone. He trembled and wanted to touch Batman's cheek, but he only touched the corner of his mouth that was raised high. Batman's voice turned into hysterical laughter in the next second. Haha, haha, he, haha. The hoarse laughter gradually became distorted and gradually became louder. He seemed to choke on his laughter. The Joker saw Batman's mouth cracked, and the face under the bat cowl was pale, like his own reflection. No, no. The Joker screamed hysterically, almost vomiting his throat out of his mouth. The pale freak began to dress him in Batman's clothes. Batman, whose lower half of his face had turned pale under the mask, was still talking, and his upper half of his face turned pale again in the silver white light. Ha ha ha, I love this answer. That way you win, and I win. But it's different, you know? It's different. Now this is how I win, little bat, and I persist. You just said that you didn't do that because it would make me win, and that's what you tell yourself and others because you don't want to admit the truth and the old excuse of the slippery slope theory. Am I right? Batman killed the Joker, and then suddenly, who knows what can stop Batman from killing all the bad guys like the Joker and becoming completely crazy? The Joker looked at the pale monster and smiled. But I think that's bullshit, old friend. The Joker's entire body had been dressed in a Batman uniform bit by the pale monster, and half of his pale face was covered by Batman's dark mask. With the silver white light, the monster also changed back to the appearance of Batman, wearing a Batman uniform, pointy ears. Oh no, of course, the face under the mask is still pale, with a mouth stretched to the ears. Well, now the two of them are almost identical pale people wearing Batman's outer garment. I mean, do you really think you can't just kill me, the Joker, and then stop? No one will know. You can find a place where no one can see. Do it in the dark. You can bear it, right? Afterwards, say something like, oh, poor Joker, I know him? No. The Joker said, I will never do that. His bat uniform and pointy ears shone brightly in the night. Then in an instant, everything disappeared. Hysterical laughter, raised corners of the mouth, bright red teeth and vicious eyes. The Joker heard Batman say to him, you have to help me, I can't suppress him for too long. The Joker's neck was loosened, he staggered, and stood on the ground at a loss. He touched his bat mask and cape. It's next to it, the crimson cabinet at the corner, you have to go in and crawl inside. He heard Batman say to him, you have to go in, so that you can change me back. Chapter 54 Murder. Of the 30 million people in Gotham City, 5 million have directly or indirectly participated in first-degree murders. This is an underground safe house in Gotham City, the Riddler's lair, the safest and most secretive one. It is arranged like an ordinary study room. Killer Croc, who is sitting on the sofa, pulls out a copy of Kant's Critique of Pure Reason from the bookshelf next to him. After flipping through it for a while, he finds that he can't understand a single word, so he throws it on the ground in anger. The ventriloquist picks it up and puts it back. About 15 million people have committed crimes before, and the remaining 10 million who have not committed crimes are not because they are good civilians, but because they are all hidden gentlemen, gamblers, and prostitutes in the red light district. The Riddler's voice rang in the room. Jim Gordon was tied to a chair with his eyes covered and a cloth stuffed in his mouth. And the reason they didn't join the criminal army is not because of any noble qualities, but because they were not forced into a desperate situation. The picture was playing on the TV. The Riddler confirmed that it was a live broadcast. Batman was there, just as he planned. He continued, so you understand? There are no good people in Gotham. The only good people are drug addicts and gamblers, because they will not hurt anyone except themselves. I'm too tired, year after year, day after day, living in a pile of garbage, committing crimes all the time. If committing crimes is so tiring, why don't you stop? Movie Freak said, you can stop committing crimes? No, you don't understand at all. Riddler stood up nervously, then stood on the sofa and squatted down, hugging his legs, like a lonely and helpless poor child. This is a war. If we really give up committing crimes, because we are tired, then he won. Batman won. So what? Can't we live without committing crimes? Killer Croc found a bag of potato chips nearby, opened it, and threw it directly into his mouth. No, it's not like that. Batman won, but I didn't lose. Huh. Killer Croc felt that he was completely crazy. He knew that telling riddles was the Riddler's specialty, just like the uncle selling hot dogs at the entrance of the park would have his own unique recipe. But the Riddler had never told such a difficult riddle, at least not in his memory. The Riddler was a little nervous. He hugged his knees, like a little boy hiding in a corner during a thunderstorm. You don't understand. I'm not me at all. What I mean is, I don't represent myself at all. He chattered on. I'm naturally attracted to people of my kind, just like bats have always attracted all of us. Just like you, Killer Croc, you have always attracted all the criminals in Gotham City who have the same beast-like heart as you. So you can get a lot of responses, and you can easily pull together an army that is extremely loyal to you. You are their king. The purely beast-type criminals follow you, just like the highly intelligent criminals around me, the desperate laughers who are knocked down by life around the Joker, and the fearful admirers around the Scarecrow. We are so-called super criminals. We are their spiritual pillars. Bat said it right. Most criminals are superstitious and blindly follow others. The Riddler continued, we have the same characteristics as them, but we are much stronger than them, so they will be conquered by us so easily. We no longer represent ourselves, but a part of Gotham's sin. We represent those people, and have become a kind of concrete incarnation of this sin. He stared at the TV blankly. Killing me is useless. If you kill me, Tutankhamun, Clue Master or some other criminal who is similar to me will take my place. He may not be as strong as me, but he must be the strongest among the remaining ones, and so on, and so on. We are never special. So Bat knows very well that killing us will not stop crime. On the contrary, his act of murdering us will only aggravate the breeding of crime. Every successful crime is a great encouragement to other criminals. Once this opening is made, he really becomes a part of the darkness, and therefore can never eliminate the darkness again. You understand? If Bat really does that, then he will be like us. He will attract other criminals and attract others to imitate his act of murdering criminals. Then this metropolis of 30 million people will become a slaughterhouse, with rivers of blood and piles of bones. Because if you want to be serious, everyone is a criminal. Riddler said, everyone can kill people at will under the banner of justice, and the law will become a piece of waste paper. Bat will never do that. That's alarmist. Movie Freak commented, supervillains are just special. What's special about me? Said the Riddler. Before us freaks, there was Roman Falcone. And before Roman Falcone, Gotham had the Lion King, and before that, there were the 4 major families of Gotham, and before that, I was just a puppet of Gotham's sin, a marionette. It doesn't matter whether this puppet is called the Riddler or Redwood. Just like the Joker has died so many times. How dare you say he is still the same Joker? We saw him disappear in the explosion with our own eyes, and then he came back 2 or 3 months later. Fell into the river, disappeared, and came back 2 or 3 months later. He came back again, and came back again, and he will always come back. He can only be dispelled but not killed. Gotham only needs a madman who can crack the corners of his mouth to his ears. Does it matter what the real name of that madman is? He defeats me time and again, and our game will never stop until one of us can no longer hold on and falls. The Bat is trying to reverse the entire city on his own. You don't understand how shocking this is. He cannot be knocked down, never hesitates, and doesn't need to rest. He is extremely smart and wise. His will is as strong as steel, like a god walking on earth. The Riddler's voice gradually became louder. He stood up, waving his hands. This is unscientific. This is impossible. How can such a person exist? You don't understand how desperate it is to face such an opponent. No matter how much you struggle, how hard you struggle, you will be sent back to Arkham. This is too sad. He slumped back on the sofa. Death may be a relief for me. In this way, I don't have to worry about my incompetence and be dragged into the sin of Gotham. I can't stop committing crimes. It's not just because of my mental illness. No matter what kind of determination I make, no matter what I plan to do except committing crimes, the sin of Gotham will be like an invisible hand to pull me back on track. It enslaves me. It drags me down. No matter how I cry and struggle, he will force me to use that damn puzzle to manipulate me, to show his fangs to the son of Gotham who was born in darkness but betrayed darkness. I'm a dragon who should be slain by the night, but I'm also a slave of darkness. Only death can let me rest. But Batman is unwilling to grant me even this final piece. He doesn't even kill the Joker. Do you know? Batman is a cruel avenger, but his revenge is not on me, not Two-Face, not the Joker. It is the sin of Gotham City. What he wants to end is not the criminals, but the crime itself. But evil and crime can never be ended. As long as there is a human being living in this world, evil and crime can never be ended. But he did it. He was trying to achieve a goal that was absolutely impossible to achieve, torturing himself and everyone. He is simply not a human being. He seemed to have lost all his strength and slumped in the chair, as if all the bones in his body had been pulled out. I'm tired. I'm really tired. He murmured in a low voice. So now there are no more riddles, no more tests, and no more games. Everything should come to an end. He picked up the phone on the table and called Batman on TV. Batman, now, do as I say. Kill the Joker. He walked to the whimpering Jim Gordon, took out a pistol, put his head side by side with Jim Gordon, and then pressed the gun against his temple. No riddles, no hints. I only have one order now. Kill the Joker, otherwise Jim Gordon and I will have our heads exploded immediately. Either kill the Joker and save me and Gordon, or let the Joker go and let me and Gordon die. Batman, you can hear me. Make your choice. Don't try to pretend to stab or shoot the Joker in a non-lethal position. I want you to cut the Joker into pieces. Only when I see him torn into pieces, I will confirm his death and release Jim Gordon. Whether it's you or me, the principles that are wrapped up, the Iron Law, that cannot be broken, must all be destroyed today. If you can't destroy them, then destroy me. I decided to use femtosecond and laser pulverization technology to kill the Joker. This technology can pulverize materials on a microscopic scale. In a sense, the Joker will be cut into pieces. Yes, do it now. The Joker got into the red cabinet, and soon, the cabinet's wooden boards fell off, revealing its original appearance of a crystal coffin. Kill him immediately, no matter what method you use. But Batman ignored him. He walked up and talked to the Joker for a while. You killed him. Why didn't you? Wait. The Riddler suddenly realized something. He wasn't such a stupid person. He shouldn't have realized it now. A bat figure with pointed ears appeared behind him. The Riddler heard the voice. It was Batman. Look, I made a mistake. I always thought that supervillains, like you, liked games. I thought your desire for games was endless. I'm an idiot, just like you. Look, you are in your room now, making the same smart mistake as me. You assume that I can't break the iron rule. You assume that I'm defenseless and have no expectations. You assume that my mercy is endless. You assume that I don't have the courage to deal with the situation after the iron rule of not killing is broken. You assume that what you see in front of you is not a prepared video, and that I'm now talking to the Joker in the old Wayne Tower. Amygdala wanted to move, but was immediately held down by Killer Croc. He was pinned to the ground and tied up. You also assume that the ventriloquist and Killer Croc are not my people. You assume that the movie freaks can't be Batman in disguise. Click. The Riddler pulled the trigger, but no bullet fired. Although he had expected this result a long time ago. You even assumed that I didn't secretly replace the bullets in your gun. Why do you underestimate me so much, Edward Nygma? Why do you assume that you are the only one who will break the rules? The Riddler turned his head and smiled bitterly. So, the Joker was not killed? You fooled me? Nygma, you are still so arrogant. Guess, Edward, you and I have only met once, but you will know me forever from now on. Who am I? Please note that what I'm going to say next is not a metaphor, rhetoric, theory, or anything else. The Riddler heard Batman say, the Joker has been killed by me. Actually, I originally wanted to spend a few pages writing about how the Riddler recruited Killer Croc and the ventriloquist, describing it from the perspective of the Riddler's first victim, and how the protagonist disguised himself as a movie freak to blend in, hiding clues about the protagonist's existence in the chapters, repeatedly hinting to everyone that there was something wrong with the movie freak, and then creating this amazing reversal. But maybe the protagonist shouldn't disappear for too long, and the existence of the Joker also raised expectations. Too much of a distraction, and readers gave very bad feedback, so I just used one sentence to mention the Riddler recruiting Killer Croc and the others. I originally thought that the death of the Joker was not the climax of this story unit, so it should be no problem for me to pull him out for a flashback, and then slowly narrate the Riddler. Unexpectedly, the popularity of the Joker exceeded my expectations. Everyone was looking forward to the Joker, and no one cared about the poor Riddler. I had to drastically cut the Riddler's role. I was wrong. Next time I will never play with this wrong operation method again. I will add one more chapter as compensation. Everyone must remember to read it, and recommend a good friend's book. The title of the book is Miss Witch. Please respect your self-recommendation. The original title of the book is The Taste of a Witch is really good, but it was sent out for special reasons. Formal recommendation. What is it like to marry a witch right after traveling through time? Royce said, The Taste of a Witch is really good. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Funeral. Yes, so this is the end. The Riddler was a little stunned to see Batman and the Joker talking on TV for a while, and then he started the machine. In front of him, the Joker turned into a disgusting meat paste in the crystal coffin. No borrowing, no fake death, no disappearance. Didn't disappear in an explosion or accidentally fall off a cliff. There was just a simple death. The Riddler had planned his own fake death several times before, using Clayface or Snackerskin, another Gotham villain who could transform, but never like today. Batman killed someone, and he murdered without hesitation. The Riddler saw the video zoomed in, and the Joker appeared in front of him. Let's go back to the moment when the Joker died. So all this was a lie to me? You didn't turn into the Joker? Never. Chen Tao said. The silver-white particles flashed, and as the crystal coffin closed completely, Chen Tao breathed a sigh of relief. Lucius's technical means were unquestionable. With such a thick wall of crystal coffin, the Joker would never be able to escape. Yes, he did it. He fooled the Joker who had made the original Batman Bruce Wayne fail and suffer countless times. Now he was trapped in the crystal coffin. As long as he gently pressed this button, through a piece of transparent glass, the Joker was sure that this was a strong polymer sealing material. The Joker looked at Batman. Haha, ah ha 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 ha. Batman, you succeeded in catching me again. Ha ha ha, I'm such a fool. Ha ha ha, but this is really funny. This joke is funny. Damn, you are so good at pretending. I won't do it again next time. The Joker laughed out of breath, but Chen Tao opposite him was calm. No next time, Joker. What? The Joker paused. As I said, you are going to die. This is by no means an impulsive act or a murder in passion, but a result of long preparedness. I decided to use femtosec and laser pulverization technology to kill you. Chen Tao stretched out his hand and stroked the transparent coffin. This is not a birdcage, but a coffin. Killing the Joker was a decision he had made long ago. Ever since the Joker used laughing gas to make more than 20,000 soldiers almost useless on the battlefield, he has never thought of continuing to tolerate the Joker's existence in this world. Of course, as a superfan of American comics, he has heard many disputes about whether Batman should kill people. Countless people have repeatedly argued from the perspectives of politics, military, philosophy, and even social theory, or the realistic factors of comic sales. They say that he should kill or not kill. For decades, such debates have never stopped. But the problem is that Chen Tao is not Batman. Therefore, these debates are meaningless. There is no moral choice, no epic like fate. In Chen Tao's view, the Joker is a trouble. If possible, he even thought about using a knife or a gun to kill the Joker. Bane Bat's memory gave him the skills to murder others, and he could use any weapon with ease. But he still chose the safest approach. The story of the laughing bat made Chen Tao feel uneasy. In the comics, Batman has mentioned more than once that, even if he murdered the Joker, Gotham would give him something worse. He didn't want to find out that he was the laughing bat himself after traveling for a period of time and then start to laugh wildly and destroy the multiverse. This is too funny. Even a trash novelist who drank 3 pounds of fake wine could not write such a nonsensical plot. Therefore, he must be cautious about the murder of the Joker. Is there really a poison gas on the Joker's spine that can turn others into clowns? Maybe there is, maybe not, but he will never gamble with himself. The Joker in the crystal coffin strangled his neck. He began to have difficulty breathing. Chen Tao walked to the side of the crystal coffin and began to operate it silently. After the energy is connected, the machine will start to work and cut the contents of the coffin into pieces at one time. Whether it is the Joker's poison gas or any other weird things, as long as the coffin is not opened, then never think of running out. After the Joker dies, Chen Tao will seal it layer by layer with multiple layers of steel, and then seal it with cement in the darkest corner of the lower level of the Batcave until the end of time. The Joker was so right to discover the murderous intent in Batman's eyes. He told some crazy jokes and reminisced about the past with Chen Tao, but Chen Tao completely ignored them, and finally, he suddenly seemed unusually calm. I know. It's over now. You don't plan to play games with me anymore, right, Batman? Okay, I accept it. It's the end now. But you always run away from the people around you. Have you ever thought about what you have never said to me? I hate you. Those few words. I hate you, Joker. Listen, Batman, if today is the end, then I think I still have the right to prepare my last words. Femtosecond laser cutting is ready. The machine made a mechanical sound. Please note, please confirm that everything is ready. Countdown. 10 seconds. Batman. Chen Tao stood in front of the crystal coffin, indifferent, watching the Joker pounce on the transparent coffin door. I'm dying. You're going to kill me, but listen up, Batman, I hate you. It's your turn. But hurry up, it's your turn. Say that sentence. Time passed second by second, and Chen Tao turned his head away. The hope in the Joker's eyes was extinguished bit by bit. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Me too. Chen Tao replied him. Joker. Haha, haha. That's right, Bat. I'm glad you finally discovered this today, because in the past, you know, I would never let you find out how I died. Falling from a helicopter, falling off a cliff, disappearing in the explosion, but I always come back. I shouldn't have let you see how I died, but it seems that this situation is inevitable today. Listen carefully, I won't die, Batman, this is a fact. I'm an idea, and I will continue to live in the shadows, living in Gotham's dissatisfaction. You will see me again soon. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ah ha 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 ha. First a line of blood began to spread from his forehead, and then his head began to collapse. The Joker is dead. And please help recommend a friend's book. Odin Abuniga's Island War Chronicle condenses the life trajectory of Odin Abuniga, the 6th heavenly demon king in the Japanese Warring States period, and see how he launched a surprise attack on the Takeda Kirinamagor Yoshimoto, and defeated the Omi lioness Nagamasa, defeat the fierce leopard of Echizen, Asakura Yoshikage, duel with the monk king of Hanganji. Master Kenio, confront the tiger of K, Takeda Shinjin, and shatter the undefeated myth of Takeda's Red Armored Cavalry. Chapter 56 Bat King. Warning. Warning. It has been detected that you hold the anchoring prop, the Joker's crystal coffin, crisis energy converted. Chen Tao almost couldn't believe his eyes. Synchronizing. The laughing bat. The laughing bat. Laughing. Laughing. Error. Error. Emergency shielding activated. Emergency shielding. After a series of dazzling silver-white fonts flashing, the fonts on Chen Tao's retina finally returned to stability. Crisis energy converted. 80 crisis energy units you currently hold. 164. Warning. Downloading targetable Batman files. Broken Bat. Danger level C. In a dark multiverse, at the end of the Nightfall incident, Batman failed to defeat his protege who had fallen into villainy, the Angel of Death Jane Paul, and Batman's identity changed. The Angel of Death changed his name to Saint Batman, and launched a bloody dictatorial reign of terror on Gotham. Bruce Wayne was vivisected to preserve his necessary organs, and was forced to spend the next 30 years observing what the Angel of Death did to Gotham City. After being rescued by Ms. Shiver and the Son of Bane, he was healed by a Macrobat robot made of nanotechnology, and became a cyborg. However, the 30-year torture had completely broken the once righteous Dark Knight Batman. Embracing the darkness, the broken bat killed the Angel of Death and all the allies who stood in his way, and became the new ruler of Gotham. Do you want to consume 80 units of crisis energy immediately to synchronize? Chen Tao touched his chin, his fingertips rubbing on the butt-like groove on Batman's chin. The previous Joker gave him 40 crisis energy, but another 40 were consumed during synchronization. This time too, he was given 80 crisis energy, and the new Batman he was given just needed 80. Unlike the previous Bane, he was given 103 crisis energy, but only 59 were consumed to synchronize Bane Bat. What on earth was going on? Chen Tao thought about it for a while, but soon skipped the question. The most important thing now is the Riddler's business. Now, you crossed that line, Batman. The Riddler was stunned. On the TV, the clown meat paste fell to the ground in disgust. He repeatedly confirmed the truth with his own eyes. Oh my god, you crossed that line. The Riddler shouted with both sadness and joy. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I thought I needed to go to great lengths to force you to kill people. I wasn't even sure if I could do it, but in the end I suddenly realized that I didn't need to do anything at all. You never wanted the Joker to live. While I was still struggling with the routine, you had already smashed it to pieces on the ground like glass. You guy, you had planned it all along. Oh, I love you so much. I love you so much. You aggressive deliberate murderer. He laughed out loud, then took a deep breath, strangling his laughter, as if he was about to die. Batman, believe me, it's about to begin. I'm very familiar with this feeling. You'll soon attract some new admirers. No, I won't. Believe me, I've thought about it too. But it's not up to you. The Riddler put down his pistol neatly. I surrender. And they. His eyes swept over the ventriloquist who was sitting there silently, and Killer Croc who was tying up Amygdaloid with ropes. I'm so stupid. I said I wanted to break the rules, but I didn't even consider this possibility. Almost all the thugs I hired were moles. The bottom line didn't exist a long time ago. You already have these followers, don't you? Employees. Chen Tao corrected him. I paid them. You paid them? Ha ha ha. Batman, I'm sorry, although I'm the Riddler, and laughing has never been the Riddler's characteristic, but I still think this is very funny. Ha 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 ha. The Riddler chuckled in an exaggerated voice. He slapped his thigh and pointed at Killer Croc. Do you know how many employers have been eaten alive by Waylon Jones? Those idiots who were not strong enough, the cheap, artless, and unoriginal criminal activities. How many times has that beast eaten alive those fools who tried to manipulate him? He is a beast. Batman, do you really think that money alone can control the beast? Do you know how many times he has bitten his employers to death? Do you want me to tell you how many times he has eaten both the goods and the money? Chen Tao was very sure that the Riddler's eat was a pun. He looked at Killer Croc, and the other party gave him a shy smile in return, pure and harmless, like a puppy trying hard to please its owner. After witnessing Batman killing people with his own eyes, he looked more submissive than before. Ouch. Amygdala screamed and tried to resist. He was a manic with intellectual problems, one of the villains in Arkham, hired by the Riddler, and appeared here in a daze, and then Killer Croc bit the other's shoulder, took a big bite, chewed it twice, and spit it on the ground. Amygdala fainted in pain. And the ventriloquist, do you think that there are no fools in Gotham who think he is not scary at all, just a schizophrenic with a doll? This is too blasphemous. This is not polite. Nigma first. The words that the ventriloquist was about to say were swallowed back in his throat. He saw the Riddler's eyes flashing with a faint light, as ferocious and violent as a tiger. He is a very strong criminal, no doubt. But confronting the Riddler head on, not enough. Shut up. The voices of Bat Baby and Ventriloquist were hushed under the Riddler's stare. They kept looking at Chen Tao with their eyes, hoping that their master would stand up for them. And then, Arnold Wesker had never been involved in gangs before he entered Blackgate Prison. But he learned all the gang survival skills without a teacher, and single-handedly became the biggest gangster boss in Burnley in just 3 months. What kind of gentleman do you think is a person who can tear off his own piece of already divided meat? Do you know how many corpses of gangsters have been stepped on under Arnold Wesker's pair of pink rabbit head slippers? He is a cold-blooded and cruel madman. No, I'm Batman's dog. Woof, 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 woof. The ventriloquist seemed a little worried. He imitated the barking of a dog in the room, as if no one was around, eager to prove his loyalty to his master. I'll listen to Batman now. I know that only by listening to Batman can. I'm sorry. So do you understand, Batman? Nothing can go back. What's the saying that's been cliched? It seems that someone has been entangled in the death of the Joker. I will post an Easter egg chapter later to hint, cross out, at this. How could such an important character like the Joker just leave the stage? And I deliberately wrote this Joker as a super pervert who is obsessed with Batman. There is no sense of oppression at all. How could I exploit the character's potential like this? Chapter 57 Justice. If you fight a dragon too long, you become a dragon yourself. If you stare into the abyss too long, the abyss will stare back at you. Amygdala woke up from the severe pain. He cried and wailed, lamenting the pain and torture he had suffered. Killer Croc let go of Amygdala. Chen Tao looked at him. Even with the chaotic brain of mania, he felt the gaze of Batman. His crying was stopped by an invisible hand strangling his neck. He whimpered and fell to the ground, shivering and curling up his body. It's all over, Batman. You've also become a prisoner of Gotham's sin. The Riddler announced. Do you remember Roman Camp Falcone? Did you know that Camp Falcone's life goal when he was young was to end the sin of the entire Gotham? And he later became the biggest gangster boss in Gotham, and so are you. But when an upright person succumbs to sin, it is as harmful as a public well being poisoned. He said crazily. Therefore Batman is dead. He threw the gun in his hand to the ground. Bat King has been reborn. He bowed to Chen Tao exaggeratedly, like a jester in a stage play. Batman, you are a criminal now too. He shouted excitedly. There is no difference between you and us. The Riddler has been convinced by the logic he has thought out, and in his eyes, Batman, who murdered the Joker head on, is undoubtedly a criminal partner like him. Batman has the same characteristics as him, but is much stronger than him, so therefore, he surrendered, in every sense. Chen Tao knew that at this time, maybe he could just hook his fingers, and the Riddler would pounce on him, and lick his toes wildly. Well, maybe the other party would be more reserved, and not so exaggerated. But the attitude inside is the same. As long as Chen Tao wanted, he could get the Riddler's help immediately. If he did so, with the other party's IQ and the resources and force at his disposal, it would definitely be convenient to defeat Bane, find the nuclear bomb, save or rule the entire city, right? But I refuse. I've been a criminal for a long time, Nigma. I have never denied the violation of personal rights, illegal possession of deadly force, and flagrant violation of the Fortress Act. Now it's just that first-degree murder has been added to the charges. But you bastard, listen carefully. You've said so much, but I think it's all bullshit. Your theory of darkness is just a variation of the theory of a bad day. Chen Tao said, you think everyone will become a slave of darkness, just like the Joker thinks that even Gordon will become the Joker after having a bad day. But Gordon didn't become the Joker. Neither did Barbara. He said these words, but his eyes were looking at the blindfolded Jim Gordon. Whether it's a bad day or darkness, they are just excuses for bad guys to do bad things. Law? The law is a piece of waste paper to me. Nigma, please don't get me wrong. I drew a bottom line for myself in the past, not to protect myself, but you. I've been thinking about whether it is just to sacrifice a small part of justice for the greater justice. So do you have an answer now, Batman? Chen Tao sighed. He knew from the moment Edward Nakima opened his mouth that the person he needed to refute was not the Riddler who had collapsed in front of him. It was the other member of Gotham's former Iron Triangle, the police chief who gave everything for the entire city, Jim Gordon. He took off Jim Gordon's blindfold. The other party looked at him with compassion. "Batman, you used to be hope," he said. Jim's expression was a little dazed, and he stared at Chen Tao. "You tell us," you told Gotham. "No matter how much knowledge you have, or how talented you are, you can't be a self-righteous enigma. No matter how much you want to save your family, you can't sacrifice the lives of innocent people for your family like Victor did. No matter how cold the night in Gotham is, you shouldn't use the blood of others to warm yourself. The efforts of the judiciary will always bear fruit in the end. Society will not always be in a gray area, and justice will eventually be worth protecting. You told us that the world is worth it. Even if we have experienced the worst day, even if we have experienced pain that countless people dare not even think about, no matter how painful, crazy, or desperate it is worth it." He suddenly said with a mental breakdown, "You told us that the greatness of mankind lies in the fact that after facing the extremely brutal and bloody darkness in human history, we still have hope for it, and work hard to heal this human society instead of shooting it down. This is what you said, and this is what you taught us. Why? Why let the clown win? Why make such a sudden decision? Why make yourself like them? Oh my god, you should have sent the clown to jail, not shot him." "I didn't shoot him," Chen Tao said. "I cut him into meat paste." Chen Tao added, "The kind that was crushed into powder. Clown sauce. Clown sauce. I'm pretty sure that was some kind of Japanese cold joke." Gordon was so angry that he was talking nonsense. "Why, are you still going to make some bad Joker flavored sandwich with Joker sauce?" "And I did that. I'm sorry, Jim. You know that after you do this, Batman will degenerate into procedural justice is just a means." Jim Gordon. "What? I will only spit on the Joker's corpse." Gordon. "Murdering the Joker does not make me a tyrant or dictator who kills people at will. Do you really believe in the fallacy of the slippery slope theory? Aren't we always pursuing substantive justice?" Chen Tao said, "Superheroes have the ability, and should inspire, and discipline people to make the right choices. When procedural justice and the system can do this, I should certainly support the system and procedures. But when the system and procedures are dysfunctional and corrupt, I should also supervise the system and procedures themselves. In essence, the justice pursued by superheroes should be above the law. Otherwise, why don't I just join the system and become a policeman?" Gordon remained silent. Chen Tao sighed. He stopped what he was about to say and shook his head. This kind of thing is essentially a disagreement in concepts and thinking. Jim Gordon has been in the system for too long, and his thinking has been framed. Since the murder of the Joker, he has thought that the two of them will never be able to reach a cooperative relationship like in the past. This is also the price that must be paid, and he has expected it. So now, Mr. Enigma, you'd better tell us where you stole the Penguin's nuclear bomb. What nuclear bomb? I have never stolen a nuclear bomb. Chapter 58. Who stole the nuclear bomb? What nuclear bomb? I have never stolen a nuclear bomb. Chen Tao's heart tightened. Who else could it be besides you? The Riddler's eyes slowly lit up. Damn, it seems that something I don't know about has happened. A nuclear bomb? Batman, you are in big trouble. A few hours later, in the Batcave. Bruce Wayne has more than a dozen Batcaves like this in Gotham City. Although it is much smaller than the one under Wayne Manor, it is fully equipped and can provide Batman with all the necessary support at any time. At this time, the third generation Robin was holding a tablet and standing next to a pull-out mobile display screen. From the intelligence we know so far, the people who are capable of obtaining nuclear bombs may be the following. Chen Tao turned his back to the Bat computer and sat in the seat where Batman usually sat, motioning Tim to continue, with Alfred standing beside him. Not far away, Ventriloquist, Deadshot, Cheshire Cat, Killer Croc, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy were sitting in a row. Harley was a little excited and looked around the facilities in the Batcave. She even used her baseball bat to try to smash the display cabinet next to her and take out the Bat uniform. Such impolite behavior was of course stopped by Poison Ivy. Harley Quinn's hard baseball bat softened the moment it touched the glass cabinet and shook in Harley's hand like gluten. "Oh, come on," she said. "Our first suspect is Bane. He has the ability and motivation to do this," Tim said. He flipped through the information on the tablet in his hand, then pressed the remote control. Bane's big head soon appeared on the pull-out screen and the huge bat computer display behind Chen Tao at the same time. The guards in the warehouse where Penguin stored the nuclear bombs were armed with live ammunition, and most of them were desperate criminals and retired soldiers recruited by Penguin. Although selling nuclear bombs is indeed a crazy and suicidal act, according to Penguin, he has been keeping a close watch on the nuclear bombs in recent years, and the quality of the guards has always been very high. However, there was not even a large-scale gunfight at the scene, which means that the attacker may be only one person, and he killed one by one with a knife, with perfect stealth, and all the witnesses were killed without any resistance. Bane is a cold-blooded killer, and has a burly figure. There is no doubt that he can do this. But it is strange that using knives is not Bane's specialty. Based on our understanding of him, with Bane's grip strength, I'm afraid he would be more inclined to directly break the guard's neck with his hands. Of course, it is not ruled out that Bane deliberately used a knife to confuse the audience. Tim continued, but this does not make sense. Bane has just arrived in Gotham City. He can't know the city like those Arkham people who have lived in Gotham City for more than 10 years. Oswald is not a fool. He knows very well what kind of threat nuclear bombs pose. Even though he is one of the largest arms dealers in the United States, he cannot afford the cost of this matter being exposed. So he has kept his mouth shut for so many years about the fact that he has nuclear bombs. Except for selling one of the nuclear bombs a few years ago, he has never told anyone what is hidden in the warehouse. Even the Emperor Penguin, who was the most trusted by him before, has never come into contact with such a core trump card as the Penguin. He took the information and said in a dull tone, "To be honest, Oswald really surprised me." Although according to his account, he got the nuclear bombs very early, even before the era when Gotham was fully equipped with bat cameras. But he has always hidden this trump card very well, and even sold it quietly a few years ago. I'm shocked that we have been beating up a gangster who holds nuclear weapons for so many years. He said with some lingering fear, "Damn it, Gotham always gives us some scares from time to time. You never know what the guy in front of you is hiding." When I first became Robin, I stepped on his sharp nose. For so many years, Penguin has been beaten, bullied, used as a stepping stone, and betrayed by his subordinates, but he has never used this trump card. In a way, Oswald is simply the most emotionally stable person in Gotham City. I think my emotions are also very stable. Harley Quinn muttered. Poison Ivy, who was sitting next to her, hit her lightly, grabbed her palm with her other hand, and scratched her palm. Holly smiled and interlocked her fingers with her. Death Shooter quietly wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and sat there with an arrogant look on the surface. Help. He was just a salary thief who came to cheat salaries at first. Why did he suddenly start to mixing content about nuclear weapons? Exclamation mark. The people in this city are too exaggerated. Death Shooter silently swallowed his tears. The Cheshire Cat looked left and right. Everyone seemed so calm. So she tried to act like it was nothing. Go on. Chen Tao said. If Oswald could even hide the existence of the nuclear bomb from us, then Bane would never have discovered something that we didn't discover in just a few months since he came to Gotham. Robin continued. Even if he had the motive and the ability, he couldn't have known the location of the Penguin's warehouse. If anyone could have discovered the Penguin's secret, then he must be an old man who has been in Gotham for a long time. This requires us to bring up our second suspect, Scarecrow. Tim pressed, and Scarecrow's face appeared on the screen again, displayed side by side with Bane. In most cases, Scarecrow will appear to be a timid coward, but he is definitely an expert in manipulating fear. Even without the use of fear gas, Scarecrow can still instill great fear in others, and use fear to easily manipulate others' bodies and minds. Besides, I found some leftover fear gas at the scene, which is one of Scarecrow's most common weapons. With the help of fear gas, he can indeed do the same thing as Bane. Of course, I admit that Scarecrow's fear gas has long been rampant on the black market, and these low concentration fear gases can be bought by anyone. But when we reviewed the attacker's attack afterwards, we found that he launched the attack with a backhanded knife, but this scar can also be explained in another way, that is, using a sickle. Therefore, even if Scarecrow's ability to commit head-on murder is weaker than Bane, with the help of fear gas, Scarecrow, who is good at killing with a sickle, can also do it. Another suspect is the Riddler, but he has been captured by us. Tim closed the tablet and said, to sum up, I think the real suspect should be between Bane and Scarecrow. I personally prefer Scarecrow. Chapter 59 Immortality. Gotham. A certain base of the Court of Owls welcomed an uninvited guest. This is a square as wide as the ancient Roman Colosseum. A slave auction seems to be going on. It is hard to imagine that in the civilized world, there is such a naked place for human trading. There are a lot of people here, and the men and women wearing white owl masks are roaring and howling hysterically. They take off the disguise of people in the civilized world and wantonly vent their inner darkness and naked desires. And it was at this time that Bane broke into it. As a claw with twisted limbs was thrown into the center of the square by him, the extravagant banquet was interrupted, and the upper class people wearing masks and well-dressed gradually stopped making noise. Wow, it seems that our banquet has welcomed a new guest. Let him in. Claws. Bane lowered his head and slowly passed by several claws holding sharp blades. Their blades did not retreat at all as Bane walked by, as if they intended to cut a long bloody gash on his body, just to give the man in front of them a small warning. But they failed to do so. The sharp blades tore through Bane's clothes, leaving not even a white mark on his body that was like cast steel. The claws felt like they were scratching on a rubber tire that was full of elasticity. Bane walked out of the gate of the Colosseum like a gladiator in the ancient Roman Colosseum and slowly walked to the center of the arena under the gaze of everyone. The most senior member of the court sitting at the highest point signaled to the claws, and the living goods that were originally being auctioned were removed. They cried and shouted at Bane, but they only received whips and beatings, which did not move the burly man at all. The court member seemed to be satisfied with Bane's behavior of not trying to meddle in other people's business. He lowered his head slightly and pulled the microphone over. Bane, you have rejected our kindness before. How dare you show up in front of us now? The sound amplified by the speakers was loud and grand, and all the members of the Court of Owls in the entire arena stared at Bane. All of them wore white owl masks, and the scene was inexplicably terrifying. Bane's eyes lingered on a little girl wearing a mask. The girl seemed to notice the strong man's eyes, so she tilted her head into her parents' arms. And, how did you find me? The man wearing a white owl mask was attracted by a locator raised by Bane. Before he finished speaking, a red bright spot on it kept flashing. When did you stay? The man with the white eagle mask said half of his words, and then suddenly realized. He looked at a claw standing quietly next to him. Cut open his body. Following the man's crisp and clear order, the other claws next to him acted together in an instant, and the claw was quickly cut into pieces. Soon, they found a small locator in the neck of the claw. The leading member of the Court of Owls slowly clapped his hands. Shocking, he said, detailed observation skills. Most people would believe that someone is dead after seeing his head twisted off. But you left a locating device in the body. The member of the court was a little annoyed. Damn it, you tricked me. We are a secret organization. You said you found us. What should we do with you? I'm here to seek cooperation. Bane answered him. I'm here to ask for Electrum. This word made the member of the court standing on the high platform pause. Where did you hear that from? Never mind. It doesn't matter. He gave a crisp order. Claws. Kill the invaders. He took the microphone, turned his head, and said to the other members, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, the party is over early. I need to be implanted with Electrum. In exchange, after I defeat Batman, take over this city and I'm willing to let my body become the claws of the Court of Owls. This is my condition. Bane said. The white owl mask man on the platform stopped moving. Bane tore off the clothes on his arm, and then he saw clearly that the other part of his body was covered with tiny plants, like vines and green grass growing directly in his flesh. Such a physical condition would make any biologist not believe his eyes. What was more eye-catching was the other half of his body, completely opposite to the grassy side. It was an unhealthy bluish white. The white owl mask man was very familiar with this color, the black veins hidden under the bluish white skin. This was a physical condition that only dead people would have. The claws of the Court of Owls basically looked like this. Try to attack him. As soon as he gave the order, the claw beside Bane swung his knife and stabbed there without hesitation. Bane didn't even try to dodge. Under the claw assassin's full strength stab, his skin was broken, and the blade sank a little bit. The claw assassin slowly put away the knife, but no blood flowed out, as if it had stabbed into a pile of hard leather armor. Surprisingly, Bane, something happened to you that we don't know about. The man in the white owl mask said slowly. He changed his attitude. Maybe we can talk. Yes. Bane answered him. He punched the head of the sharp-clawed assassin who had just stabbed him into his chest, and then watched the other party pull out his head and reinstall it on his spine. He said, I'm also interested in immortality. We will cooperate happily. Chen Tao stood in the Batman's exclusive training ground in the Batcave. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and then silently activated the Alfred protocol. Synchronized, broken bat, crisis energy units you currently hold. 84. The cells were boiling, and the silver white particles entangled in his body, and then turned black. Humph. Chen Tao snorted fiercely, and half of his body exploded into a black nanorobot, and instantly pierced through all the training robots in front of him. Sizzle. The nanorobot turned into a sharp steel knife, and cut the robot in half in an instant. But it was not his attack that made Chen Tao groan. The negative memories of the broken bat were attacking him. Compared with Bane Bat or the Batmobile, these negative emotions were not even on the same level. Chen Tao thought silently, but even with such a huge infusion of negative emotions, he was still able to think clearly. This is not enough to defeat me. Chen Tao looked at his hands, but it is enough to interfere with my synchronization with other Batmen at the same time. Thanks to shield-wielding Bobby for the 3 rewards. Thanks to 2049 for the 1500 coins. And for recommending his book. Chapter 60 Preparation. It was no longer those simple, unsympathetic negative emotions, nor was it the instinct of dinosaurs to eat raw meat and drink blood, or to sit in a cave and listen to the sound of prehistoric hail hitting branches, nor was it the memory of the Joker's righteous but frenzied circus-like joy, or the memory of Bane Bat exercising his body day after day. It was pain. When the hand was cut off, the blank scream of the elbow nerves turned into wails as the blood gushed out. The feeling of strong legs, the angel of death injected with venom, was torn apart by brute force. The full muscle groups and fibers were broken one by one, and the joint heads were pulled out of the joint sockets with the connected tendons, making a light popping sound. The spine was broken and stretched, and the life-sustaining tubes were inserted. Every midnight dream was awakened by the phantom pain in the limbs. It was the remaining nerves in the broken ends that wrongly reported that they could not connect to the existence of the limbs and could only send confused inquirers to the brain. Batman endured such pain for 30 years. 30 years of such pain were all instilled into Chen Tao's mind when he synchronized with the broken bat. Chen Tao's temples were throbbing, but this time, he could not transform his head into the silicon body of a car to stop this physical spasm. Chen Tao felt like a little mermaid who had transformed her fishtail into legs. Every step he took was accompanied by great pain. Although this metaphor was a bit strange, it was undoubtedly very appropriate. His brain, lungs and heart were still human, but the rest were all dark grey-black nanorobots. Chen Tao lifted the transformation, and the intense pain faded like a tide. Silver white particles entangled and dispelled the grey and black on his body, revealing his scarred, muscular body. Chen Tao's figure flashed again in the practice field. Silver white particles gathered, and the face of the Joker dyed the green scales of the bat dinosaur into pale white. The next moment, the metal structure of the Batmobile exploded on his face again, constantly reconstructing into the body of the dinosaur. Bane Bat's venom can appeared behind him, and then was swallowed by the metal body, protected behind layers of exhaust pipes and rubber tires. The next moment, Chen Tao synchronized with the broken bat, and all the assembled combinations suddenly collapsed and turned into black nanorobots. A few dozen minutes later, Chen Tao put on casual clothes, walked down the steps to leave the practice room, walked up to the second floor of the Batcave, and slowly returned to the chair in front of the Bat computer and sat down. Alfred, are you still following up on Clark Kent in Metropolis? Chen Tao took the drink and sandwich handed to him by Alfred. Have we found him? Alfred paused. I'm afraid not, Grandpa. He said, Lois Lane has been promoted, and a photographer named Jimmy Olsen has appeared under her. This young man was assigned to her a day ago. Alfred continued, we tracked Lex Luthor's movements, but Clark Kent still hasn't appeared. Then Diana Prince in Boston, forget it. Chen Tao knew that such weak thoughts should not appear. If the people he had previously instructed appeared, Alfred would definitely notify him as soon as possible. He didn't say it, which meant that the people were not found. His active question now was just a kind of weakness. Batman should not be weak. Chen Tao patted his face and his expression became stern again. Even if you want to retire, you should retire with the blessings of many colleagues and enjoy your old age, instead of running away like a dog, right? I'm Batman. Chen Tao thought, before taking off his clothes, I have to at least finish what I should do, what Batman should do. The atmosphere was a little silent for a while. Master Bruce, you don't have to worry too much about nuclear weapons. Alfred said, whoever gets the nuclear bomb, unless he plans to quietly detonate it when no one can find him, and directly create a beautiful mushroom cloud in Gotham, he will definitely use it, you know, like £1 million. Note, £1 million, a novel by Mark Twain, tells the story of a poor American boy who uses a £1 million bill to get things for free. Here Alfred means that whoever gets the nuclear bomb will definitely use it for nuclear blackmail. As long as he shows up, Alfred said, we can find him and then get rid of him. Chen Tao nodded. Scarecrow, Court of Owls, Bane, Lincoln March, the detonator of the nuclear bomb must be in the hands of one of his enemies. And he wants to shoot them all through one by one. Give the Mad Hatter's hat to Lucius. He said to Alfred, let him quickly figure out Tetch's hat tricks. He doesn't need to fully understand them. He just needs to make sure that Tetch can't do anything with them. You got your award. Penguin, our agreement will continue. Oswald Coppert looked at the corpse in front of him with a smile. The man in front of him had a strange blue skin, and golden hair grew from his forehead to the back of his head, like a crown, a fake crown. He was the Emperor Penguin, the former disciple of the Penguin, and almost became the heir to his huge criminal empire. If he hadn't been stupid enough to betray his mentor. After being defeated by Batman, he was identified as a mentally sane criminal, so he was not thrown into Arkham Asylum, but into Blackgate Prison. The Penguin made a deal with Bane to get him, so Bane broke his neck when he swore allegiance to him. Of course, go on, Bane. You may be a born killer, but you keep your promises. I will return to Ogilvy everything he did to me a few years ago. The Penguin said, and you and I are birds of a feather, my veiny friend. The goods you want are ready. The Penguin patted the iron monster beside him, and his flesh palms slapped on the fine iron, making a banging sound. I spent a lot of effort to get more than 20 M1A2 main battle tanks, as well as more than 2000 M4 carbines, M249 machine guns, M240 machine guns, M136 anti-tank rocket launchers, M203 grenade launchers, and M2A3 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles. His fast mouth under his hooked nose blasted out a long list of weapon names like a machine gun, boasting about how difficult it was for him to get them. I dare say that in the whole United States, there are no more than 5 arms dealers who can wholesale so many weapons to you in such a short time like me, and I'm the only one who can get you a tank. Chapter 61 The Man Behind the Scenes. With my help. Before he finished speaking, Bane went around to the back of the tank and pointed to the half-palm print deeply imprinted on the armor beside the entrance door of the tank that was obviously replaced, and said, this seems to be the tank of the National Guard that I destroyed with my bare hands. How is it possible? Penguin widened his eyes, and this action caused his monocle to fall out of his eye sockets. I'm an honest and reliable Penguin. How could I take advantage of the fire and sell other people's equipment? The muscle freak with exploding muscles responded with silence. Okay. Under the other party's gaze, Penguin raised his hands in surrender. Yes, I picked up those equipment, but I repaired them all. It's very simple. Just replace some armor parts. Bane didn't say anything. The batch of tanks he destroyed were all seriously damaged. Even if Penguin took away these equipment, he was able to repair them in a short time, which proved his strength. The transaction was going on happily, and Bane's men were carrying the weapons brought by Penguin. By the way, Bane, I have something to tell you. Penguin puffed on his cigar and put his monocle back into his eye socket. Did you know that a nuclear bomb of mine was stolen recently? Nuclear weapons? Bane paused. He immediately said, damn it, you actually had such a dangerous thing. Penguin narrowed his eyes slightly. This action was very deterrent. Even though he was an ugly guy who was less than 1.5 meters tall, short, fat, and had a hooked nose, this action of squinting while smoking still made people's hair stand on end. Don't you know that my nuclear weapons were stolen? Bane immediately asked him back. Should I know? The two of them stared at each other for a while, and the atmosphere began to freeze slowly. The smart Penguin and Bane's men beside them had already begun to see some clues. They put down the weapons they handed over and stared at their respective bosses. Ha 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 ha. Penguin suddenly burst into laughter. It's okay, my good friend. I just want to ask you, if you know where the thief who stole my nuclear weapons is, remember to notify me as soon as possible so that I can rush over and tear him into pieces. But Bane still tensed his muscles and looked at Penguin coldly. Ha 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 ha. Penguin laughed dryly twice and stopped talking. He called a little brother and said directly to Bane, let the armed helicopters on standby above us withdraw. I'm afraid this is really not done by Bane. There is no need for them to point missiles at our dear customers. Bane's movements relaxed. The atmosphere began to become harmonious, and the tense confrontation disappeared. Penguin touched his chin and rolled his eyes. My friend, these weapons may greatly enhance your strength, he said, but I don't think you are good. You will soon be defeated like the countless guys who have provoked Batman over the years. Seeing that Bane seemed a little gloomy, he didn't care. He could see that Bane's emotions were not written all over his face, like he appeared to be, but the other party liked to play the role of a brainless muscular man, so why not go along with him? Anyway, his goal was to allow Bane to fight the Bat for longer, so that he could continue to sell goods. So he said bluntly, for the sake of our partnership, Bane, I've met a lot of Arkham talents before, and they all said the same thing. Bane is by no means Batman, so let me point out a simple fact to you, my handsome ally. No matter how many killers and strongmen you bring from Santa Prisca Island, and how many scum you recapture from Blackgate Prison, these lunatics in Arkham have experienced worse situations, and they are not afraid of you. Bane responded with silence. The following transaction was unremarkable. In a strange silence, this special pair of customers and the merchant completed the transaction. The next batch of weapons will be delivered to you in 2 days, my ally. This time you will need to spend real money to buy it. You know, the super special price of exchanging so many weapons for one body only happens once. He gave Bane a price list, which detailed how much money was needed to buy how many weapons, and then the Penguin left in a swagger under Bane's eyes. A few minutes later, in a secluded corner, Bane signaled several of his men to guard the front entrance and put his finger on his headset. So, my ally, what do you suggest? I'm not your ally. A British accented voice came from Bane's headset, like a butler holding a tray and asking politely in a noble manner. We are just nakedly taking advantage of each other, Bane. There is no need to tie us together. Are you addicted to playing the ally game with the Penguin? This was an extremely rude taunt, but Bane remained silent. I will provide you with the necessary information and give you money. You only need to repay me and achieve the goal you should have wanted, to destroy Batman. This is my goal. The mysterious voice said, no matter what method you use, even if it means destroying Gotham, go and achieve your great cause. I smell the scent of conspiracy. Bane said, I never believe in help without reason. But the mysterious voice ignored him. He continued, the last sum of money to purchase weapons will be in place soon, and then we will never meet again. Give me as much as possible. Bane said. Of course, Bane. The figure in the dark paused his cane. Enough for you to arm all the people under your command to the teeth. Bane hung up the phone. He turned around, and just as he was about to call on his men to leave with these weapons, he heard a violent noise. What's going on? Zombies. Go and see. Before the subordinate whom Bane called Zombie Man could move, a voice was heard. There is absolutely no need for that. Your name is Bane, right? Putchy. A slight laugh was heard, and Bane frowned. He saw the zombie man beside him smiled. Bane silently activated the venom behind him. The dark green juice flowed, slightly raising his body by 2 or 3 inches. Oh, There is no need to be so vigilant. We all have to deal with Batman. We are allies. Puchy. Ha 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 ha. Zombie man suddenly knelt on the ground and began to laugh hysterically. Bane looked at the pale man who appeared in front of him. Joker. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, Plan. Frankly speaking, this was the Penguin's first visit to the Batcave. In most of the past years, his communication with Batman was divided into two steps. Step 1. Batman broke into his office and beat him unconscious without saying a word. The process was extremely rough and cruel, which made his subordinates who witnessed everything extremely scared. Step 2. After the Penguin woke up, he would usually find himself tied up in the Gotham City Police Department, with a file bag beside him full of criminal evidence collected by Batman. This is not to say that he was not occasionally thrown into the Batcave for temporary detention during Batman's more than 10-year heroic career, and then entered Step 2, but most of the time, he was beaten black and blue, or in a state of shock, so naturally he would not have the mood or opportunity to examine the furnishings in the cave. Damn, once I think back to the past, why did this damn Batcave suddenly become a little gloomy? The Penguin held the umbrella in his hand. It was his weapon, with deadly mechanisms and poisons built into it, and could even be used as a submachine gun. But when facing Batman, this thing mainly played a psychological comfort role. It was precisely because of this that when Batman very kindly invited him to visit the Batcave half an hour ago, he quickly agreed to the other party's request. Although he had to be blindfolded, blocked his ears, and then carried by Batman like a yo-yo in the middle of the high-rise buildings like Tarzan, he still walked into the Batcave conscious for the first time, didn't he? What are you hesitating about, Oswald? The Penguin turned his head and saw Batman's ghostly figure appear beside him. Hiss. Did Batman just gather half of his body from the shadows? It was as if some black fine sand made up his body. Did I see it wrong? Batman's expression was a little strange, as if he was enduring some pain. He reached out and patted Penguin's shoulder. Penguin confirmed that it was a human hand, which made him feel a little relieved. Let's go. Penguin continued to move forward nervously. What exactly did Batman want to talk to him about? Would he torture him later? As he walked, Penguin began to imagine a scene. He was tied to a cross naked by Batman, and his fat belly was whipped by Batman with dozens of blood marks. Batman grabbed his hair with one hand, dripped candles on his belly, and shouted speak or not, but he was gagged with a bull gag, and couldn't say a word. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but shudder. Why don't you leave? Yes, I'm sorry. Turning around the dark corridor, the ferocious giant dinosaur and the dark blue bat computer finally appeared in front of Penguin. He widened his eyes and saw the person standing in front of the computer. That person, she is Harley Quinn. How could it be you? Penguin almost bit his tongue. Why are you in the Batcave? He looked around. Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, and you. I remember you. You are Deadshot. Cheshire Cat, the famous rookie mercenary. His eyes turned to the ventriloquist who was squatting next to him and trying to disguise himself as a dog. Arnold? Hey, isn't this Oswald? Oh, you wrinkled little prickly pear, how are you doing tonight? Holly happily turned over in the seat that belonged to Batman. No matter how you are doing, I'm having a great night anyway. She climbed upside down on the operating table of the Bat computer, then took out a recorder and pressed it. Then the recorder came out with the audio of Batman that was obviously spliced by her. I, Batman, just want to have sex with bats. Holly said, try this again. She pressed the recorder twice again. The Bat computer will immediately obey Holly's orders. Nothing happened. Penguin looked at a weirdo wearing a candle head mask carrying a tray of food and said in a weird British accent, I'm afraid I have to remind you, Miss Quinn, if you want to give a voice command to the Bat computer, you must first say hey, Bat computer. Ah, I can't stand it anymore. Poison Ivy slapped her forehead. She manipulated the green plants to lift Harley Quinn, who was saying thank you. Candlehead weirdo, but I want to eat pizza, while stuffing a sandwich into her mouth, upside down from the Bat computer, and threw it next to Killer Croc who was feasting on the table next to her. That's enough, Holly. Maybe enough beef and roast suckling pig can fill your mouth. Do you want to eat beef legs? Killer Croc said. Penguin felt that the world was really crazy today. Oh, Batman, I forgot to tell you something last time. Dog Welder has been missing since the last massacre in the swamp, and I haven't found him. Penguin saw Robin sliding over on a sliding chair, but it's not important anyway, right? He held a large piece of roast chicken in his hand, took a bite, then kicked the ground, and slid away again. Ventriloquist squatted beside him, with a bowl of barbecue in front of him. Deadshot sat at another temporary table, elegantly tasting Western food. Seeing Penguin's eyes sweeping over, he actually raised his glass to greet him. How, that? Penguin opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but what he wanted to say was stuck in his trachea. Relax, Oswald, we have something more important to talk about. Chen Tao brought him a glass of champagne. Want a drink? Penguin took it in a daze. Chen Tao organized his words. Well, the main reason I called you here this time is that I hope you can help sell out the Scarecrow. Impossible. The Penguin's messy mind immediately came to its senses. He said, don't you know the relationship between Scarecrow and me? He is my beloved friend and brother Rely. The fat dwarf said righteously, how can I sell him out? Killer Croc watched the scene in front of him with interest. 3 minutes later. Your bank card has arrived. 500 million. The Penguin read the bank account arrival message calmly, and he coughed lightly, as if nothing had happened. I can help you trick the Scarecrow. The Penguin presented facts and reasoned, but the problem is that the Scarecrow is not a fool, and he is not my subordinate who can be summoned and dismissed at will. Batman, why do you believe that the Scarecrow can be tricked out by me? He said, after all, Clean is a cunning lunatic. If you go to him without a legitimate reason, you will only alert the enemy. Chapter 63 Protective Abduction. I've been prepared for this. Penguin heard Batman say, before, the clown and the Scarecrow teamed up to kidnap Mayor Carlo, but as their relationship broke down, and they attacked each other, when the Scarecrow was beaten black and blue by the clown, Mayor Carlo got rid of the control of the fear gas, and has now returned home safely. Although he has neurasthenia and clown phobia. Robin, who slid over from the chair next to him, added. But, based on my understanding of the Scarecrow, he will never give up. Penguin heard Batman's calm analysis. This was the Batman he was familiar with, cold and alert, like a cold machine, who knew the psychology of these villains like them, and could easily predict all their actions. Such a Batman was really terrible, and he was sincerely afraid of such a Batman. We have to. Ding da da ding da. He turned to Harley Quinn and shouted, Holly, if you play this kind of music again, I will kick you out of the Batcave. Poison Ivy began to chase Holly, and the two women got into a mess. The Penguin barely maintained a serious expression on his face. Therefore, I judge that Scarecrow will definitely find a way to recapture Mayor Carlo. Chen Tao turned his head and continued, Scarecrow is an extremely conceited criminal. He is obsessed with fear. For him, the fear that is not fully pulled is imperfect. Therefore, if he wants to stew a pot of delicious fear soup, Mayor Carlo, as the nominal head of a city, will be an indispensable condiment. Especially when he has had this condiment before. The pursuit of perfect fear will make him unable to tolerate the situation without Mayor Carlo. Even if he already has a weapon that can threaten and intimidate Gotham more, he will still pursue more perfect intimidation at all costs. This is the inevitable result of his mental illness. The Penguin heard Batman continue. Okay, you also heard me say that Scarecrow may have another weapon that can threaten Gotham more. Yes, in fact, we initially suspected that the person who stole your nuclear bomb was Scarecrow. Chen Tao showed the analysis report Tim had produced to Penguin. Scarecrow has the ability and motivation. Penguin recalled how Scarecrow appeared silently behind him and secretly confirmed what Batman said. In Gotham City, no ordinary person could resist Scarecrow's fear gas, and his ability to instill great fear in others gave him an unparalleled talent in torture. If there was anyone in Gotham City who might know the secret of his nuclear bomb, Scarecrow was undoubtedly one of them. But he still didn't understand what Batman was going to do. So, Clean will find a way to capture Mayor Carlo, so why don't you set a trap at Mayor Carlo's house? What's the point of looking for me? Well, what I mean is that although Scarecrow is sick, he is not a fool. If we can think of this, then we cannot rule out the possibility that Scarecrow also guessed that we would think of this. Penguin saw Batman cough lightly. Therefore, if we set a trap directly at Mayor Carlo's house, Scarecrow may not fall into the trap. He will be roundabout. When we are forced to weaken the protection of Mayor Carlo because of other things he has done, Clean, who has been waiting for a long time, will suddenly take action and kidnap Mayor Carlo. So, to be honest, Penguin still didn't understand what Batman wanted to say. So, in order to prevent Scarecrow from kidnapping Mayor Carlo, we kidnapped Mayor Carlo first. Penguin was stunned and watched Batman drive away Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, who were playing on the sofa, and then pulled out a huge drawer from under the sofa. The next second, Penguin slapped himself on the head. Inside the drawer was a living person, naked, tied up, and wearing a ball gag. It was Mayor Carlo, who was frightened after escaping from the clutches of the Joker and the Scarecrow, and was supposed to be recuperating in bed at home. The other person's eyes were closed, and there was a tear mark in the corner of his eye, as if he was still immersed in a nightmare that he couldn't wake up from. I really admire you, Batman, the Penguin said. Therefore, we need a guy that Scarecrow trusts enough, and he will claim that he kidnapped Mayor Carlo, and take the initiative to give this seasoning to Scarecrow, so as to lure the other party to show up. The Penguin immediately understood that this person was him, the Penguin. Of course, given our Professor Clean's excellent social skills, ability to win over and lead others, we must anticipate the possibility that Clean has other helpers. The Penguin was pulled to the cabinet next to him by Batman. He saw the other party take out a bottle of dark yellow potion and said, "This is a mud softening solvent specially developed for the Clayface. Once Basil, the original name of the villain Clayface, drinks this, his body will no longer be able to harden and become as soft as a piece of slime." He saw the other party take out another USB flash drive, a virus specially made for Victor's, the original name of the villain Mr. Freeze, cryogenic life support armor. As long as you secretly connected to Victor's cryogenic armor, this virus will tamper with the core program of the armor and turn Victor into a cooked prawn in minutes. No hardware needs to be inserted, just get close enough, and it will automatically hack in. The Penguin had already thought of how Mr. Freeze wailed and collapsed to the ground, and he swallowed his saliva. How insidious. A nuclear magnetic jammer specially made for Garfield, the original name of the villain Firefly. Once this thing is turned on, his flamethrower and flamethrower armor will no longer be able to ignite, and all the equipment on his body will immediately misfire. But be careful when using it. He heard Batman continue, "This thing will make the flight system of Garfield's armor ineffective. That is to say, once it is turned on, he will immediately fall upside down from the sky like a kite with a broken string. If he falls unluckily, he will die. You have to turn this thing on before he takes off." Sodium hydroxide solution, a strong alkaline solution, can react with phosphorus to produce phosphine. I believe such a large bottle will make Dr. Phosphorus sick enough. Have you seen this potion? It is specially used to deal with Dr. Langston, the original name of the villain Man-Bat. It only takes one injection to temporarily restore him from that superhumanoid bat to a human. The Penguin looked numbly at Batman talking about those props that could make the Gotham villain sick to death. He saw the other man's mouth open, his mouth drooling, revealing a smile like an orgasm. "Hey, you're excited, right? You're very excited, right? So, Oswald, are you joining this plan?" When Batman asked this question, Penguin felt that everyone had put down their work, and pairs of blue eyes stared at him, making him feel like he was surrounded by wolves. "Okay, I'll join." He raised his hands in surrender. Chapter 64 Choice. For the Joker, the world is a huge arcade. Bane sat at the desk, concentrating on reading the booklet Batman wrote for him. Life is nothing more than game coins in the arcade for the Joker. The reason he still keeps it is simply because he hasn't found a fun machine. When he finds one, he will spend it without hesitation. The muscular man carefully picked up his thick fingers, turned the book to the next page, and continued reading. He is a liar who is full of lies. So, when you face the Joker, always remember Don't use conventional thinking to speculate on the Joker's behavior. Does the Joker have a plan? Although he often claims that he doesn't, there is no doubt that the Joker has a plan. He just doesn't have a goal, which makes him more difficult to deal with than those ordinary criminals who use plans. I have to admit that the Joker once compared himself to a mad dog chasing a truck, which is very appropriate. Generally speaking, a plan needs a process and a goal. For people who like to make plans, such as you, Bane, achieving the goal must be your ultimate ideal result. The so-called plan is just a means to achieve the goal. Bane smiled softly, and he didn't even notice that at that moment, the smile on his face was like a girl who saw a love letter. But then in the next moment, this smile turned into a murderous intent as excited as a beast. Batman almost openly instigated in the pamphlet. The Joker is more difficult to deal with ordinary criminals who use plans. But even if Bane knew the other party's purpose, he would still be aroused. However, these emotions were killed by him in an instant, and they could neither shake him nor stop him from continuing to read. But for the Joker, the purpose is not the purpose. The implementation of the plan is the purpose. He enjoys the process of implementing the plan, which will make him climax. He has no so-called worldly desires, no concrete, realistic goals. Money? Power? He wants nothing. Just like the dog that catches up with the truck, does not really want to do anything to the truck. If we must say that the Joker has a goal of a plan, then we can only say that he wants to falsify all rules and order, and prove that chaos and evil are the essence of the world. So, do you understand? He hates and ridicules all rules and order include, but are not limited to the plans that you, Bane, are preparing to defeat Batman. For the Joker, destroying other people's plans is almost instinctive. For the Joker, other people's plans and rules and even any codes are all rotten jokes. Thank you for your reminder. Bane thought silently. I have understood what kind of guy the Joker is. Knock knock knock. A knock on the door interrupted Bane's thoughts. His subordinate, the caveman, came in and reported to him. Bane, the Batman uniform has been made. Bane nodded. I know. He stood up. The caveman moved his mouth for a while, and finally spoke. Bane, are we really going to cooperate with the Joker, and divide the entire city together? Bane did not answer him. He walked out of the room directly. It was not until he disappeared at the corner of the corridor that the caveman heard his voice floating in the air. Who knows? Lincoln March, wearing the claw uniform of the Court of Owls, walked in the gloomy corridor. The bright moonlight shone through the broken and dirty glass on the windowsill, casting mottled shadows on the creaking wooden floor, reflecting on his silver-white streamlined armor, and reflecting the blood red of a pair of big owl eyes on his helmet. This is an abandoned hospital, built by Martha Wayne and Thomas Wayne. There are many such abandoned hospitals in Gotham. The reconstruction plan called O'Sullivan Plan includes not only hospitals, but also schools, community colleges, and public facilities. They form a huge network. If all are built, it will be enough to transform Gotham. Well, these are things that will never be completed. So it is meaningless to talk about what changes these things will bring to Gotham once they are built. But since the couple was killed in Crime Alley decades ago, the urban renewal plan invested by the couple has also been aborted. Lincoln March shook his head. He is now completing the task assigned by the court, and he should not be distracted at this time. But he still couldn't help but recall what Bruce Wayne said the last time he met him. You know what? Mr. March, forget it. I want to call you Lincoln directly. Can I call you that? Did you know that owls will occupy other people's nests? They murder the parents of ordinary birds, then raise their children, and when the time is right, they will cut out their hearts and lungs to fill their stomachs. Those stupid little birds not only surrender to the claws of owls and the claws of the enemies who killed their parents, but also obey the orders of owls to murder their brothers. The final result is of course, that both of them are eaten as lunch by owls. The direction of these words is too obvious. This is no longer a hint, it is almost a naked indication that Bruce Wayne must have discovered his identity and the words he said. Lincoln March shook his head. Forget it, now is not the time to think about these things. He pushed open the door of a room. Outside was still a dark and dreary corridor, but inside was brightly lit. Welcome, welcome. Claws from the Court of Owls. You have chosen a suitable partner. Lincoln March narrowed his eyes slightly. In the center of the room, Scarecrow sat in the main seat with his arms and legs folded. And next to him, Lincoln March's eyes swept. Killer Croc, Ventriloquist, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy. Strange. How come these four villains who have nothing to do with each other are sitting together, and they even have the posture of forming a faction? Mr. Freeze's position is a little special, and he sat directly next to Scarecrow. Lincoln's eyes swept over them one by one. The room was actually full of Arkham's lunatics. He had to admit that Scarecrow was still quite capable in leadership. After all, not everyone can gather so many lunatics. I said, there will be no problem if the Court of Owls chooses me. We can divide this city together. He walked forward with champagne in his hand. Familiarly, a strong organization needs a strong cooperation. I'm only responsible for the investigation, Scarecrow. Lincoln interrupted him without hesitation. You must first prove to the court that you have the ability to control the entire city, and our cooperation will officially begin. Although the other party was very polite, he didn't know why, but he had an inexplicable feeling of disgust. He didn't know what was wrong with him. He didn't want to admit it. Deep down in his heart, he was thinking, so many villains. Can Batman really handle them? Scarecrow didn't care about the other party's indifference. It's an honor to invite you, Mr. Claw. We are about to get a brand new bargaining chip, he said. Oswald just sent a message. He will send our Mayor Carlo. Chapter 65 Scarecrow. My name is Jonathan Crane, also known as Scarecrow. To me, this is a crazy world. It's always been like this. Madness on the left, chaos on the right. For the madmen in Arkham, they don't understand what unity and cooperation are. Most of the time, even if they cooperate briefly, they will soon start to kill each other, and then one madman after another will destroy themselves, until in the end, all that is left is the lost potential of Gotham. The people of Arkham are too easily victimized by their own arrogance, so that's why I have to make sure that this time will be different. This time, Scarecrow will be the commander-in-chief. And as far as I know, a good commander always has a backup plan. I was planning this as early as when I was working with the Joker. Oswald, my old friend, you really gave me a big surprise. Scarecrow gave Penguin a warm hug, and then smiled at Mayor Carlo, who was tied up with a smelly sock stuffed in his mouth. Woo, woo, woo. What a timely gift for us who want to conquer the whole city. Scarecrow took out the fear potion and sprayed a large cloud of mist directly on Mayor Carlo's face. The poor guy let out a wail, like he was dying, and fainted. It's no use fainting, Scarecrow said, while fiddling with poor Mayor Carlo. He silently observed the two guys next to Penguin with his peripheral vision. Deadshot, a mercenary. He knew him. The one next to him was the Cheshire Cat, whom he also knew. It was reasonable for them to appear next to Penguin. This time Penguin really didn't seem to be playing any tricks. Of course, clean. We are deep partners. Penguin smiled and walked into the middle of Arkham's villains and picked up the champagne by himself. After all, we are all members of Arkham. He first poured a few glasses of wine for Poison Ivy and Holly and greeted them very familiarly, and then toasted them one by one. The atmosphere was harmonious and friendly. Victor. Mr. Freeze looked at him coldly. Don't be so cold. I don't believe you, Copper Pat. Mr. Freeze said, given your many betrayals in the past, do you think I really think you will join our camp obediently? Don't be like that, Victor. Scarecrow said, Penguin is our important partner, give him some face. Mr. Freeze poured the drink given by Penguin directly on the ground, opened his hood, and blew out a breath of cold air. The drink that had not yet landed on the ground instantly froze into ice chips. The corners of Penguin's mouth showed a smile. It's okay, it's okay. He walked to the other side happily. Wow, isn't this the Clayface? Is there something wrong with the other party? Scarecrow turned around quietly and looked at Man-Bat. Did he attract Bane's men? Man-Bat shook his head. No, Copperpot is very honest. Except for his two bodyguards, he did not bring any helpers. Bane's army showed no signs of mobilization, nor did they use any weapons to attack. Copperpot did not betray us. I think he also knows that, if he does something, so many of us can kill him in an instant. Scarecrow nodded. The banquet was still going on, singing and music were playing, and the lunatics of Arkham gathered together. Scarecrow raised his glass with satisfaction. This is the right way to cooperate with others. He found that his previous choice to cooperate with the Joker was really stupid. The Joker was too strong, and he could not control the other party's behavior at all. It still has to be these people, these ordinary Arkham compatriots. Compared to the Joker, they are more submissive, easier to control, and easier to persuade. But Scarecrow never thought that they are also weaker, more flawed, and easier to defeat than the Joker. My compatriots, to the end of an era and a brand new future. Everyone raised their glasses together. Then suddenly, he wanted to let Penguin experience how horrible fear toxin is, the ultimate fear. The next second, he was grabbed by Killer Croc. Asshole, I want you to catch Penguin, damn it. He immediately realized the situation. Sorry, I'm a traitor. Killer Croc scratched his head and said in a muffled voice, me too. Poison Ivy said, of course I'm too. Cute little Cotton Harley smiled. The ventriloquist walked to the side and kicked Mr. Freeze, who was lying on the ground. Bang! His foot kicked off Mr. Freeze's hood directly, making a crisp sound. You guys. The Scarecrow's voice sounded a little dull under the linen hood mask. It's hard to imagine. What did Bane use to convince you? Do you still think it was Bane? Not Bane? There is no point in lying. Forget it. The Scarecrow shook his head. Fortunately, I'm also prepared. He shouted, Court of Owls. Where are the claws you promised? The Court of Owls did not promise claws. Lincoln March walked out of the darkness, his face covered by a silver white mask. Although I brought them. Lincoln March glanced at the Arkhams lying on the ground with disdain. Jonathan Crane, you have failed the expectations of the Court of Owls. Stop talking nonsense. The Scarecrow said. He looked at Mr. Freeze, who was wailing on the ground. This doesn't look like something that Penguin can make. Instead, it looks a bit like. He looked at Penguin. Oswald, who are you working for? In fact, Jonathan Crane had already guessed the answer, but he didn't want to believe it because it didn't fit the behavior of the man he was familiar with. He paid too much attention to Bane. Damn it, Crane, we trust you, so we came to your alley, but you invited a traitor in with a sedan chair. You have to think of a way. He heard Dr. Pigfaced shouting, my 100 sponges seem to be attacked by someone outside. They didn't obey my call. Harley Quinn jumped high and attacked Scarecrow first. Scarecrow used the same trick again and sprayed a large cloud of mist on her face, but the woman who was laughing crazily was not affected at all. She hit the table next to Scarecrow, who dodged with a stick. This is why I hate clowns. You white-skinned lunatics are completely violating pharmacology. Watch out, Holly. We have to capture him alive. Poison Ivy shouted. She carefully conjured a vine and rolled it towards the Scarecrow, trying to be as gentle as possible. This is really an unexpected situation. The Scarecrow rolled backwards nimbly. What a pity. What I originally prepared should not be able to deal with such a situation. What do you mean? The Penguin, who was standing leisurely next to him, frowned slightly. What did you prepare? Thanks to the big guys for the recent rewards and the friendly recommendation books. Chapter 66 Essence. Chen Tao was sitting in the co-pilot seat on the invisible bat plane. Bat computer, help me connect to Robin. No response. Hey Bat computer, help me connect to Robin. Connected. Batman calling Robin. The plane remained hovering, and the butler Alfred sat in the driver's seat with a candle head hood next to him. Soon, Tim Drake's face appeared on the screen in front of him. He put his legs on the table, then picked up a drink, took a sip with a huff, and then turned his head and took a big bite of Alfred's secret sandwich. Tim, there is nothing unusual in the water reservoir, Assembly Square, Night Market and other places where people gather, right? Has the firewall of Gotham TV's communication network been established? Has it not been attacked by hackers? There is nothing unusual in the monitoring of the TV station's interview cars. Remember to immediately cut off their connection with. No, old man. Tim drank the drink in his hand unhappily and threw the empty plastic cup behind him. Damn it, Batman, none of the situations you expected happened. I think you just want to find some excuses to throw me in the Batcave and don't want to take me to participate in the operation. Chen Tao felt a little guilty. It is undeniable that he did have such an idea, but in fact it was more out of vigilance against the Scarecrow. At any time, we should be wary of the old three things of Gotham people: poisoning the Gotham reservoir, giving terrorist speeches to Gotham citizens from the TV station, and releasing fear gas in the square where people gather. Gotham people are very good at doing this kind of thing. Although it is old-fashioned, it is extremely destructive. Chen Tao knew that the Joker was a complete lunatic, but that didn't mean that the other criminals in Arkham were normal. For lunatics, there was no such thing as this one is a little crazier, that one is not so crazy. A lunatic is a lunatic. Chen Tao has read the War of Jokes and Riddles. The more he knows about comics, the clearer it is that he should not take any lunatic lightly. So he said, "I'm sorry to leave you in the Batcave, Tim. I apologize to you. I admit that I did it on purpose." Batman's sudden straight ball embarrassed Robin. He immediately put his feet off the table and stuttered when he spoke. No, it's okay, Batman, I don't blame you." Chen Tao smiled. He understood too well what the rebellious young righteous kid was thinking. Maybe Batman didn't understand children very well, but Chen Tao still understood them quite well. "But this is just out of concern for you, and it is indeed necessary to guard against the possible actions of the Scarecrow." Chen Tao deliberately emphasized, "Your work is not meaningless, but an extremely important backup countermeasure plan. You know." Chen Tao said, "Generally speaking, what the Scarecrow does is to manipulate fear. Therefore, whether it is poisoning the sewers or gathering many Arkham criminals, these are not the essence of his behavior. I never underestimate my enemies. The Scarecrow is a lunatic like the Joker. He does not have a clear purpose like a criminal in the traditional sense." Chen Tao added, "For example, Bane. If Bane wants to poison the city or do something, then he must have a purpose, such as controlling the city, or killing someone, or tiring me, just like his previous Arkham Asylum riot plan. But the Scarecrow is different. The Scarecrow just enjoys the act of inflicting fear on others. Therefore, the result of the matter is not the Scarecrow's purpose. Intimidating others is the Scarecrow's purpose. Everything he does is to better intimidate others. He is not a criminal in the true sense, and he cannot be deduced with conventional thinking. Therefore, based on my understanding of Clean, if his plan goes wrong, Scarecrow will do anything, including but not limited to cooperating with others, or even being inferior to others." Chen Tao's eyes were dim. "That's right. This is the biggest difference between Scarecrow and the Joker. Although the Joker will also form an alliance with others, the end of such an alliance is usually how can a man be depressed and inferior to others for a long time, and then the internal explosion will be a mess. Luthor must have a lot to say about this." Chen Tao continued to say to Robin, "But Scarecrow is different. Whether it is ruling the city or gaining money and power, it is meaningless to him. He just wants to scare others. Scaring ordinary people is good. Scaring the whole city through Gotham radio is better. Scaring others with bombs. Scaring others with words. Scaring in the dark. Scaring in the daytime. As long as he scares others, he will climax. He just wants that shiver. As for what will happen after the shiver, he doesn't care. So this is why I insisted on dealing with Scarecrow first." Chen Tao concluded, "Scarecrow is a villain with a tendency to slide on his knees. He is also suspected of stealing nuclear bombs. If he really stole it, maybe he wouldn't mind cooperating with others, or even surrendering in exchange for better protection of the nuclear bomb, and let him happily scare others every day. After all, he just wants to scare people. If the nuclear bomb explodes, he won't be scared. But if Batman comes to his door and takes the nuclear bomb away, he will be even less scared. Then, finding allies to guard the nuclear bomb together is what he is most likely to do." Chen Tao has many enemies, such as Bane and the Court of Owls behind Lincoln March, so the best option is to defeat the Scarecrow before he gets involved with them. Chen Tao wanted to continue, but Alfred spoke up. "Excuse me, I'm very sorry, sir, but I'm afraid Professor Clean has already done so." Alfred transferred the image seen by the Penguin's glasses on the screen. It was a remote camera directly disguised as a monocle from the black technology created by Lucius. "And not only that, I'm afraid what Clean did is beyond our imagination," Alfred said slowly. "Creative ideas. We often forget that the Scarecrow is not only a master of manipulating fear, but also a genius in pharmacy. If Clean's self-claim is true, and these things in front of him are indeed his creations, then he may have cooperated with others a long time ago. Chen Tao also saw what happened on the screen, and his face suddenly became gloomy. As expected, we should not underestimate any Gotham villain. On the screen, two claws walked out from Lincoln March's side. They pulled out the knives behind them. Then, in Lincoln March's stunned eyes, their swollen muscles burst through the uniforms of the two claws. They tightened the masks on their faces and roared to the sky. "Master, have you made a plan for this situation?" "Yes." "What is it, Master?" "Me." Chapter 67 Venom. "See, what's going on? You didn't tell me beforehand that you had reached a cooperation with Scarecrow Jonathan Crane." The two muscle claws roared and fought with the traitors under the Penguin. Lincoln March raised his armor, and the lit 3D screen showed a man wearing a white owl mask. Lincoln March looked confused on the surface, trying his best not to let his voice show anger. "You obviously have already negotiated with him. Why did you arrange for me to pretend to inspect him?" In just a few seconds, Lincoln March's mind had turned 18 corners. Rage rushed to his head, making his mind clear. "If I'm not mistaken, without the Penguin's betrayal, I'm afraid I would have a good chat with Scarecrow, because in terms of power and strength, Scarecrow meets the standards of a collaborator you gave me before." He quickly deduced the internal test plan of the Court of Owls in his mind. Then after the guests and hosts have had a good time, Scarecrow will take the opportunity to say that he is very interested in me and wants to establish a private alliance with me to bypass the court. Lincoln March continued to add in his mind, "Then I will refuse, and then the court will create other things to reduce my vigilance against Scarecrow. When I completely believe that I'm the first member of the court to contact Scarecrow, I'm afraid I will really establish some cooperation with Scarecrow behind the court's back. And if Scarecrow tells the court all these things, then it will be my doomsday." His heart was cold, and he suppressed his anger and murderous intent, without showing any in his tone or face. "That's right, face." Although he was wearing a helmet, he was not sure whether the court had installed a monitor on his helmet, nor was he sure whether the expression on his face was being monitored by the court. He was unsure of everything, and therefore, he dared not relax for a moment. "Sooner or later, I will kill you all." He was furious, but the melancholy face of Bruce Wayne suddenly appeared in his mind. "I have a younger brother. His name is Thomas Wayne Jr. Ha 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 ha. My parents and I love him very much, but he is born with a bad health. My parents entrusted him to the Willow Grove Hospital, but one day he disappeared, and I have been looking for him. If you become the mayor of Gotham, can you help me find my brother? Please forgive my presumptuous request. I know the mayor should not use his power to do things for me personally. I have always missed my brother. He is my relative. Family. It is difficult to find him. He can't be called Thomas Wayne Jr., but he may be called Lincoln March. I don't understand." The court. Lincoln March's face showed a clear confused expression. "As the most loyal claw of the court, I should not question the court's decision. But I don't understand why the court wants me to perform such a meaningless task." Silence. The white owl mask man opposite did not speak. Lincoln March tried his best to control his heart rate so that there would not be any changes. Although he had been strengthened by Electrum, his heart was still beating. He secretly carried out special intensive training for polygraphs without telling the court. With a little training, he could deceive that stupid machine. He was confident that, even if he was pressed on the polygraph now, the court would not find that he was not sincere. "It's not meaningless, Lincoln," the man in the white owl mask said. "It's just to test Scarecrow. Don't worry about it." He said, "Now, you just need to help Scarecrow get rid of Penguin. Kapurput, that stupid guy. When Falcone left, we spared his life. But he shouldn't have interfered with the court's plan. The thing he regretted most before his death would be his erratic personality in this life. It's Venom." Oswald. Scarecrow stood up from the ground, stretching his tall and thin body like a bamboo pole. "He helped me realize that replenishing my own strength is not to admit my insignificance." Bang 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 bang. Without saying a word, the Death Shooter started to pour bullets at him. If he had the idea of capturing the other party alive and intact before, now there is no need to hold back. All kinds of bullets poured towards the Scarecrow's limbs. the 4 missiles in his hands, fired at the same time. The metal storm would tear the Scarecrow's limbs apart in the next second, turning him into a real human pig. It didn't matter if it caused the other party to be disabled for life or had the possibility of bleeding to death. It had to be done before the 2 claws came to protect him. Clang 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 clang. The fine knife light was endless, and the sound of bullets and blades colliding was as beautiful as a sonata played by a musician. Bullets slowly fell to the ground, and the Death Shooter stopped shooting. His face was indifferent. Such ordinary shooting could not do anything to the opponent. The Scarecrow tightened his collar and wiped his head. In fact, knowing your own limitations is a kind of power, he said, and I have long realized that the best way to intimidate others is unknown trump cards and new powers. He slowly opened his hands, and Lincoln March just watched the 7 claws he brought walk past him one by one, treating him as if he were air. At this moment, Jonathan Crane was more like the Spokesperson of the Court of Owls than him. Hey, no way. Harley Quinn stood next to another muscle claw and shouted loudly, no way, no way, they are not all muscle monsters. It can't be so outrageous. In response to her, the muscle claw next to her slashed at the place where she just stood. The samurai sword, which was originally as long as the arm, was held in the hand of the muscle claw, just like a 1.8 meter tall strong man holding a small table knife. But even so, under the huge force, the floor where Harley was originally standing immediately exploded. Holly. Damn it, don't stand so close to this monster. Poison Ivy immediately commanded the huge plant to roll back and hit Claw flying. Holly. You are a weak and helpless cute little girl, and I'm a witch. You should have left these dangerous guys to me. I'm also a witch. Harley Quinn said. She jumped onto Claw, who was lying on the ground, and hit him hard on the head with a baseball bat. Stoop. With a bang. Harley felt that the force she used was so great that her hand hurt. This force was enough to smash an ordinary person's head like a watermelon. But the next second, she saw Claw straighten his head without any damage and tore the vines wrapped around his body with his backhand. Arrow. With a bang. In the rising smoke, Harley turned gymnastic somersaults and escaped beautifully and cutely. Come on, be angry, Claws. Scarecrow raised his hands. Use your venom. The next second, all the claws roared deafeningly. As the 7 shadows gradually grew taller and bigger, Penguin swallowed his saliva. He immediately and decisively put his hands on the headphones. Batman. Help. Chapter 68 Arrival. With a loud bang, the Cheshire Cat fled the place where she had just stood in a panic. The next second, the place was blown apart by the joint attack of the 3 claws, and the wooden floor was smashed, and wood chips flew everywhere. What the hell? She said to the Deadshot. I thought I would finally not have to jump around like a monkey this time. She complained. Since I came to Gotham, it seems that everyone is doing the same job. I'm an assassin. I'm really fed up. There were too many claws, and in such an indoor space, the Cheshire Cat couldn't make a big turn. She barely used her knife to block the samurai sword swung by the muscle claws, and then her folding knife flew out of the window with a cheering cry of I'm free. The Cheshire Cat was immediately a little exasperated. Floyd, why can't you take out the ultrasonic rocket launcher or the surge effect gun and blow these guys away directly? Of course, the Cheshire Cat was just talking. This hall might be a very spacious place for a banquet, but if it were a battlefield, a direct ultrasonic rocket here would undoubtedly mean mutual destruction. The Cheshire Cat regretted that she was distracted during the battle. She did a swift backflip and then saw the man on the opposite side who was trying to catch her abandon his knife and switched to fists, hammering down at her with a whistling sound. Fuck. The Cheshire Cat cursed in a pleasant voice. Bang. She was hit and flew backwards with her arms crossed, leaving a human-shaped hole in the wall, and fell from the 2nd floor of the hospital. This scene was inexplicably familiar, as she seemed to have been hit and flew out in the same way when she fought with Bane before. Damn it. Cold sweat broke out on the Deadshot's forehead. In such a small indoor space, if he used a breaching effect gun, it would be very likely that this place would collapse directly. Wait, why not? Deadshot's brain froze for a moment, then he reacted immediately and turned around to call out to Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy and Killer Croc, who were still fighting with the claws. Tear this down. Fight these freaks in an open area. He shouted loudly and then took the lead to shoot at the load-bearing wall. Mr. Freeze, who was lying on the ground, was furious. "No. What are you doing? We are still lying here and can't move. If you knock this place down, I don't care about you." Deadshot fired another shot at the wall. The electric current hit the wall and corroded a large charred hole on it. "We must face death calmly. Ah. Great God. Almighty Father, the true God, we." Mr. Freeze turned around and saw that the lower half of the Clayface's body was almost melted, but he was still performing passionately. This can't be blamed on the other party. After all, the other party is a terminally ill histrionic personality. But he was still angry. "Firefly, come and help me." He quickly called out to Firefly, the only one who could still move among the many villains. After all, it was only his armor and uniform that were scrapped, but he could still move. Mr. Freeze looked at Dr. Phosphorus, who was lying on the ground and smoking because he mistakenly took sodium hydroxide for sugar cubes, and Man-Bat, who had turned into a skinny scholar. "We have to get them out. Batman, if you don't come to save them, we will. I have jumped out of the plane and will arrive at the battlefield in 30 seconds. There was a whirring sound in Penguin's ears, as if someone was falling. He and the ventriloquist huddled together, and the two short and fat dwarfs trembled in the chaotic battlefield. "Hurry up. I won't let you succeed." Scarecrow immediately noticed the actions of the Deadshot, and he saw Poison Ivy also followed suit and smashed the huge plant against the load-bearing wall next to him. He immediately called a Claw. "Stop him." Yes. Even though they had become muscular freaks, these well-trained Claw assassins did not slow down at all. In an instant, he appeared in front of the dead shooter and swung his knife. "Floyd Lawton, the Court of Owls sentences you to death." The knife fell like a stream of light, and the dead shooter retreated violently, raising the muzzle of the gun. Clang! The samurai sword was bitten by a bloody mouth in midair, and it was immediately shattered with just a little force. It was Killer Croc. The muscular Claw assassin was stunned for a moment, then swung a punch, but was grabbed by Killer Croc. "Don't tease me." He swung his tail, and under the green scales, the muscles twisted like a centipede. Lifting his foot, stepping down, and then suddenly stabbing into the floor. The opponent only felt weightlessness, spinning, and then being violently stabbed into the floor like a hammer. Swish! The head of the Claw assassin broke through the floor and appeared on the ceiling of the second floor. Killer Croc showed a contemptuous expression. "Your strength is far inferior to that of the real Bane," he said confidently. "If it is only this level, even if there are 3 of us, I will not lose the next second." He was pressed down by the 5 claws who jumped up. "Not fair. Woo woo woo." The fists hit like drums, and the big crocodile held his head with both hands and was kicked in a circle. He was beaten so hard that he couldn't say a word. Taking this opportunity, Death Shooter fired another shot at the wall. Boom 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 boom. Accompanied by a loud noise that shook the earth. It seemed that the whole world was collapsing, and the whole floor finally collapsed directly. In the ruins, Death Shooter just climbed up and saw 9 muscular claws standing opposite them under the bright moonlight. "Wayron, how are you?" Killer Croc pushed away a pile of rubble and stood up dizzy. He cursed and spit out a pile of rotten stones that he had eaten. "I'm fine. How about Oswald?" "Thanks to you, he's not dead yet." The voice of the penguin sounded nearby, and a pile of rubble was pushed away. Below was the penguin, who was holding an umbrella to protect himself and the ventriloquist. He whispered, "Hold it for a while. Batman should have 15 seconds left." "Waylon, old friend." The Scarecrow's voice sounded, and he slowly walked out from the protection of his muscle claws and slowly clapped his hands. "You are still so agile after so many years, which reminds me of the golden years when we worked together before," he said. "How about this, Waylon? I'll offer you 5 million, no, 10 million US dollars. How about you bring me the head of this stupid penguin next to you? Pay now, just like the few times we worked together before. You always want money, right, big guy?" "Indeed," Killer Croc said, "but..." He paused and said to the Scarecrow's confused look, "There are still 5 seconds now." "What do you mean?" "5, he said. 4. Poison Ivy flipped over the bricks and stones, and the plant carried her and Harley Quinn, landing next to the penguin. 3. The Cheshire Cat, who had just been knocked away, slowly walked back crossed the ruins, and landed next to everyone. 2. Deadshot put down his gun, his expression relaxed. 1. The Penguin said. He's here. Chen Tao fell in the center of the battlefield. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Backhand. Boom. This is the sound of the figure falling to the ground. A large piece of broken bricks and tiles exploded because of his unreduced fall, splashing in all directions. Boom. This is the sound of the Scarecrow's heart beating. An inexplicable fear rose from his body, like the panic palpitations when he woke up in the middle of the night, and like the unexpected fact grinning in front of him. "It's you," he said. The moonlight was bright. Batman stretched out his hand, and the silvery white moonlight was actually held in the center of his palm. He grabbed the silvery white light and waved it, and then half of his body disintegrated into pure darkness. "This is impossible." Scarecrow roared. "Go, Claws. Catch him." Still can't synchronize two Batman at the same time. Chen Tao looked at his arm that had decayed into silver light and then recovered into a broken bat. It failed to turn into the huge green claw of the Bat Dragon as he expected. A burst of severe pain came, as if protesting against his forced transformation just now. TSK, anyway, the broken bat is enough to deal with them. Chen Tao gently turned his body to the side, allowing the claw's fist and blade to pierce his floating body. "It's okay, as long as the torso and brain are not injured, it will be fine. Nano Batman is almost immune to this kind of physical attack." He thought silently, then raised his hand. "Try this first." The floating tiny nanorobot flew and attacked the claw. The muscular claw assassin subconsciously raised his arms, but nothing happened. Nanobots should be able to absorb all the genetic files of the organisms they come into contact with. Chen Tao thought silently. Theoretically, they should all be eroded by the nanorobots and dissolved like tofu. He looked at the other party who was unharmed, but that's not the case. Is it the amber gold? I'm afraid so. Something is preventing their cells from being taken away by the nanorobots. The amber gold has merged with their cells, and the nanorobots are like ants gnawing on a piece of hard metal. It's really troublesome. But this doesn't mean I'm helpless. Chen Tao grinned slightly. Being stared at by his pair of dark yellow cold eyes, even the clawed assassin who had turned into a corpse for hundreds of years felt a little cold. If you can't simply and crudely destroy the other party directly at the cellular level, then just use physics. The black sand in the air slowly gathered into a blade, like a fluttering flag suddenly turned into a soft ribbon, and then squeak, crunch, crunch, crunch. A teeth grinding sound rang out from the head of the sharp claw assassin. The assassin struggled to attack that part of Chen Tao's body with fists, blades, and even some kind of fighting skills that could blow up the air. But all of them were useless. These things hit the fluttering black ribbon and broke it, but they were all repaired in an instant and continued to increase their strength. Squeak, 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 squeak. First, the mask on the scalp was separated. The terrifying, expressionless owl mask. Batman showed everyone that, as long as the mask was cut in half, there was only an ordinary person with grey hair and a terrified face under the mask. Weak as a baby. No, 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 let me go. The Court of Owls. The Court of Owls will. Other sharp claws rushed over, and they tried to save their companions with all their hands. They grabbed the death floating in the air with their hands, as if trying to grab a breeze, a flowing spring, a dying howl. The black gauze slipped through the gaps between their fingertips and the blades without stopping. Attack Batman, he. Chen Tao soared into the air 10 meters, just a short distance of 10 meters. The black sand floating in the air condensed into his cape, more like the wings of death spread out behind him. All the jumps could not touch him. Even if they barely jumped high enough to get close, they would be slapped to the ground by the huge palms, condensed by the nanorobots flowing in the air, like agile humans slapping crickets, that kept jumping up from the ground with interest. Damn, what's going on? Attack him quickly, aren't you the Court of Owls? How can you not beat him? Damn it, Batman, how can he? Scarecrow said, this is not the Batman I know. Then, the scalp began to crack. The dark golden hair that was originally withered began to leave his skull inch by inch. The skin was peeled off, revealing the dark red muscle tissue underneath. Then as more cracks appeared, it gradually turned light red. That was the result of the combined effects of amber gold and titan venom. The blood in these corpses had been diluted by all kinds of miscellaneous things, diluting to an outrageous degree. Scarecrow was a true master of medicine. He actually balanced two different things so perfectly in the same body in such a short time. The strong muscles brought by titan venom and the self-healing ability brought by amber gold perfectly matched each other, allowing the claw assassins to quickly heal themselves in a short period of time, and let the body actively tear the muscles to create stronger tissues. But this super strong self-healing ability was just torture at this moment. The muscles that tried to stubbornly put themselves back together fought against the black nanorobots. The severe pain stimulated the brain that had been frozen in the coffin for hundreds of years, causing him to let out hysterical inhuman howls. Ah! A crack appeared on the white biscuit, and then it was broken into pieces, as if a child had pushed it hard. The white milk filling inside the sandwich biscuit was exposed, mixed with some red strawberry filling, sweet and delicious, mixed together, exuding an impressive aroma. Ugh! Poison Ivy made a vomiting expression. Chen Tao realized that his cruel action was not like himself. He frowned and waved his hands quickly. The sound of teeth ache sounded again. This time, there was no slow torture. The biscuit was immediately broken into two halves. With a bang, the body fell to the ground. It seemed to hit the heart of the Scarecrow. He turned around suddenly and grabbed Lincoln March's collar. Why? Why are your claws injected with titan venom so easily defeated? I have clearly done what you asked. He shouted. Think of a way. The court must have a way. Lincoln March looked at the ugly opponent with disgust. Scarecrow is like this. He worships fear so much, but he is so cowardly. He is just a slave of fear. This is why he is destined to never be a dangerous person on the front line. I don't know either. Lincoln March said. You have already negotiated the terms with the court behind my back, remember? He no longer paid attention to the other party, but just said to the image projected on the communication that had been opened on the armor. So, do you have any preparations? The court member on the image turned sideways and said to Scarecrow with disdain, useless things. Then he said, of course we have. The man in the white owl mask said slowly, the court of owls knows everything and can do everything. What about our backup plan? He's coming soon. Then, Scarecrow heard the sound of someone slowly clapping. It's wonderful. Scarecrow, I know you. I didn't expect that the court gave my venom sample to you for research, and you actually successfully developed the project of combining venom and amber finance in a short time. Amazing. Recommend a friend's book. The Girl Next Door turns into a cat introduction. I don't know when it started, but Suzuki Mamoru discovered that he had a power. Observe, describe, and copy. Observe the other person. Inseparable. Describe the characteristics. Outline the shape. And then, copy it. After observing the girl next door for nearly a month, Suzuki Mamoru obtained her ability. The ability to turn into a cat. So, meow, meow. Two cats that clearly host human souls met like this. Chapter 70 Owl. It was foggy. Under the vast moonlight, a soft veil floated on the fluorescent ground. Batman, riding the black fog, was hovering in the air, surrounded by deep darkness. Bane looked up and saw the moonlight at that moment, passing through the majestic dark ink-colored vortex of clouds and rain, casting the figure of that person. A huge shadow on the ground. He had dreamed of such a beautiful scene countless times. So breathtaking, shocking, and wonderful. Damn it. It's Bane. The court. You told me that you were going to cooperate with me and rule this city together. I'm your ally. When did you go behind my and Bane's backs? Don't you know that Bane and I are competitors? Bane, who was originally immersed in Batman, looked at the other party with disgust. Shut up, clean, or I'll kill you. The threat was very real, and Scarecrow immediately shut his mouth. Rustle. Countless tiny sounds were heard, like the sound of the hem of a piece of clothing rubbing against the wall. This sound should have been so quiet that no one could hear it. This sound should have been heard only on the crowded streets. But at this moment, everyone on the scene heard this tiny sound. Russell, Russell. Are you kidding me? Said the penguin. He took off his monocle, his voice trembling. Does this make sense? Death Shooter tried hard to smile, but his stiff and twitching facial muscles prevented him from even making this simple move. He muttered to himself in a low voice, damn it, Zoe is still waiting for me to go back. I feel my butt hurts. Poison Ivy replied. She rolled up a bunch of plants and protected herself tightly in it, then snapped her fingers, and the wooden baseball bat in the hand of Harley Quinn, who was still looking around in the distance, immediately grew and turned into a wooden snake. It forcibly tied her up like a dumpling amidst her confused screams, and then carried her to the side of Poison Ivy, wrapped in 3 layers of plants. Killer Croc hugged his head silently. Sharp claws emerged from the surrounding roofs. They emerged like a tide, occupying all the roofs of the surrounding houses. They were tall and thin, and the only thing they had in common was that they were fully armed. Then the next second, they jumped down from the building one by one. Click, click, click. The sound of flesh falling on the hard concrete ground was endless, as if playing a symphony with a sense of rhythm. The claws that jumped down from the tall buildings had broken spines, twisted limbs, and even their heads hit their vests. But they stood up from the ground, as if nothing had happened. The twisted spines straightened, and the twisted and broken limbs glued the bandages together. Everyone watched them stand up from the ground, which should have been fatally injured. Wait, let's calm down first, Killer Croc said. As the most intelligent person here, I seem to have thought of a very weird question, but I don't know whether I should say it. The big green crocodile swallowed his saliva. Deadshot said, if Scarecrow has solved the problem of combining Bane Venom and Amber Gold for that weird organization called the Court of Owls, then it means. That's right. The man with a white owl mask projected on Lincoln Match's armor said, all of them can use Amber Gold and Titan Venom at the same time. Perfect weapons. Oh, right. Batman. You don't know who we are yet, right? But you won't have such trouble soon. Chen Tao had a blank expression on his face. To be honest, this was not originally the place where we planned to fight the final battle. The series of things you did have greatly disrupted our plans and rhythm of action. But it doesn't matter if it's earlier or later, you know, bats will eventually die. Lincoln March raised his arm and flipped the direction of the 3D projection image, completely revealing the white owl masked man in front of Chen Tao. He had a complicated expression. He was angry that the court completely treated him as an outsider and was wary of him everywhere, but he deeply admired and feared the powerful power held by the court. That kind of mysterious organization that controls the entire city and is powerful in politics, economy, humanities, physical destruction ability, and hiding ability. How can it not be terrifying? They have firmly controlled the entire city behind the scenes for more than 2 centuries. Roman Falcone, Big Boss Maloney, those who once claimed to have conquered the city, are just their lackeys and running dogs. The Thomas couple once rebelled against them, so they created Crime Alley. Batman has been chivalrous in Gotham City for so many years. The greatest detective in the world, huh? But he still doesn't know about their existence. Maybe he has some guesses, but he has never got any evidence, right? He fights criminals every year, but in the eyes of the Court of Owls, he is just their guard dog, acting as a police dog to clamp down on those lunatics on their behalf. How sad. Oh, and poor Bruce Wayne. Lincoln and March know that he tries every year to change the city by changing politics and economy, but every time he succeeds, he fails. This is something that will happen. Destruction is always 100 times easier than construction, and it is also more obscure. Bruce always finds himself inexplicably failed, right? Those plans that were originally good on paper, charitable measures, plans to drive regional economic development and reduce unemployment, when they are actually implemented, they are always a mess. No matter how much money the Wayne Group allocates, it will not go to the people who really need it in the end, but all flow into the pockets of the owls. That's right. Lincoln thought sadly. Owls are creatures that are so good at invading other people's nests. They occupied the giant nest called Gotham, and for 200 years, generation after generation, they continuously absorbed the blood of this city. The Court of Owls knows everything, and no one can win the Court of Owls. and after we get your body, Batman, we will give you the respect you deserve. The court decided to keep your bones underground and keep them in the maze for permanent display, a monument to a brave opponent. In history, the court has only given such an honor 3 times. Accepting such an honor, do you have anything to say before you die? You are just a crazy organization. The other party clicked his tongue. It seems that you don't have a dying speech. Then the next step is to decide how you die. For this, we have also invited a special guest who has just joined the court. The White Owl Mask Man clapped his hands. Then Lincoln heard a heart-chilling laugh. Ha 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 ha. Little Bat, we meet again. Chapter 71 Betrayal. For the first time, a look of horror appeared on Chen Tao's face. He saw the pale man who had squeezed out the claws and walked out. Exactly the same. This is impossible, he said firmly. Are you surprised to see me? Cute little bat? Chen Tao stared into the Joker's eyes. He told himself that he was just a human, the Joker in the comics. Chen Tao had the memory of the broken bat. Before his spine was broken by Bane, and he was defeated by the Angel of Death. The life trajectory of Bruce Wayne, the broken bat, was almost exactly the same as the Batman in the main universe, so he had studied people's eyes like the real Batman. Thanks to him, ordinary people like Chen Tao who have never studied criminal psychology will also know that there are 6 types of eye movements that reveal people's motives, and each type has 15 variants. No matter who they are facing, even the most hardened criminals, their pupils will shrink or expand according to their emotions. Happiness, joy, love, pupils dilate. Fear, anger, hatred, pupils shrink. But the person in front of him is different. His pupils were constant, always small black dots. The owner of those eyes hated everything in the world. No light could shine into those eyes. He stared straight at you through the darkness. Each pupil was a tiny black pearl fixed in space, a bullet attacking you. Those eyes said he was not an ordinary person. But Chen Tao knew him. He was just a human who fell into a barrel of chemical waste. And he had killed the Joker. But, the person here was standing in front of him. Was he a copycat? Or did he kill the wrong person from the beginning? The Joker walked out with a smile, and his appearance made the moonlight become a little colder. He laughed exaggeratedly, and bowed like a court jester. It was more like dancing than walking. Ah, great court. I'm so honored to come and watch this great comedy. Masterpiece, The Fall of the Night. He stared at Chen Tao with malicious green eyes. Super Harrow, The Death of Batman. Poison Ivy felt suffocated. She waved her arms, and all kinds of plants formed 3 layers inside, and 3 layers outside, binding Harley Quinn like a silkworm. She had to prevent Harley from seeing the Joker again. Damn it, I can't believe I would say such a thing, but I still have to say it. I'm afraid Batman can't win this time. Poison Ivy found that Penguin had quietly rubbed up to her. I admit that Batman has a lot of magical little abilities that we didn't know before, but you saw it. His black sand can't do anything to that muscle freak. Penguin wiped the sweat off his forehead. I know Batman is very powerful, but we have to use normal logic. Unless Batman has some unknown backup, it would take so much time and effort to just kill one of them and cut open his head, like he did just now. There are at least dozens of people here. Can he and us beat them all down? He said to Poison Ivy at a very fast speed. Batman has been calculated, don't you know? We have done this before. Concealing information that Batman doesn't know, and then suddenly attacking. He said, sometimes Batman can break through our arrangements with brute force, but sometimes he will also leave an embarrassment. I know that the same layout will not work for Batman for the second time, and I also know that Batman will be unstoppable when he comes back, but I think, if Batman fails here once, we may not be able to survive until his next comeback. He whispered. This time he sold out clean directly, and sold him in front of the victim, which was equivalent to making a big enemy with Scarecrow. With Scarecrow's licking of the Court of Owls, who knows what he will do to him? Ivy, I'll give you money. When the fight starts, you just take the plants, roll up me, and Harley and run away. Penguin wiped the sweat from his head, and the fat on his chin, trembled with his fast speaking speed. Even if Batman loses, he can always run away. It will be miserable for us to stay. Ivy, you have to make plans early. Chen Tao heard the Penguin's escape plan, and he didn't comment. Penguin didn't think he could hide it from Chen Tao on such a large battlefield. He knew that Batman would not kill him just for this. So he immediately showed his Arkham nature without hesitation or concealment. Chen Tao ignored him. He just stared at the Joker coldly. The other laughed and fell down. Did you see that? But, ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. It was obvious that he heard what Poison Ivy and Copper Patter said just now. There was a malicious light flashing in those eyes, that deep pure malice. Then the greetings are over, Batman. The White Owl masked man on Lincoln March's armor said, Joker, we have met your conditions and have allowed you to see your Batman and talk to him for a while. But now, you know, it's noon. Batman. The Court of Owls sentences you to death. Wait. The White Owl masked man raised his hand and was about to wave it down, but was stopped by Chen Tao's shout. Oh, do you have any last words? Chen Tao sighed in a low voice. I'm really annoyed by owls. The black sand slowly wrapped around Chen Tao and fell to the ground. What no one noticed was that beside the corpse of Owlclaw, whose skull was torn open by Chen Tao, a bunch of black nanorobots were moving in. Chen Tao said to Bane, Bane, you owe me a favor. Now is the time to pay it back. The clown looked around as Chen Tao and Bane talked and took out a small handkerchief from some pocket of his chest and bit it in his mouth. Do you believe that I will pay it back? Bane spoke. From the beginning to now, except for the first sentence, he has been quiet and silent like a solemn Eiffel Tower, just like a foil for the Court of Owls and the clown. Why don't you think I'm deceiving you with words? Bane, do you still owe Batman a favor? The man in the White Owl mask said, you didn't mention this at all when you were discussing cooperation with us. What exactly happened? It's a common thing, Bane said. Batman saved my life. That's indeed quite common. The man in the White Owl mask said, Batman has saved many people, and we are almost used to it. Bane, it's time to repay me. Chen Tao continued to emphasize, if you can repay me now, it will just solve my problem. What are you thinking about? Bane said, I warned you at the time that you saved a venomous snake and we are always enemies. Do you really think I will betray my allies for you? He said, it's obvious. The next second, he whistled with both hands and grabbed the neck of the claw beside him. I will. The previous chapter was blocked, so I could only copy the words, then edited and reposted it. I'm so afraid of duplicate chapters. Woohoo. I'll contact the editor tomorrow to delete the blocked chapter and recommend a friend's book. Infinite Delusion. Starting from Leo, the engine was roaring and the Jeep raised a sandstorm. ZH using Chuan swung his crutches and pointed at the two people in front. Don't run. Rush towards the car. Feng Yuan said in horror. I don't understand this, Captain. Li Xiu collapsed and said, but what does this have to do with me? Captain, are you awake? Sarah Lang. Chapter 72 Garbage. This. Bane, what are you doing? Bane's sudden betrayal made the White Owl masked man stunned for half a second. All the claws left his side in an instant and surrounded him. The sudden changes made Penguin and others dizzy. Killer Croc sat cross-legged on the ground, like a primary school student waiting for the movie to start. How dare you? Bane threw the body on the ground indifferently. You know, as I said, I owe Batman a favor. This ridiculous reason made the other party laugh out loud. Shit, he cursed. The White Owl masked man said, do you think I will believe this kind of trick for children? Have you ever thought about the consequences of betraying the Court of Owls? Lincoln March slowly retreated. Damn it, the other party is now hiding behind the network cable and talking nonsense while he is going to hit Bane's fist directly. Lincoln March knew that the other party didn't consider his own safety at all. You deserve to die. What a shame, Bane. I'm surprised that you chose to turn against us when you least expected to betray us. The bodies of the more than 20 claws at the scene began to swell slowly, and the sound of their uniforms being torn was particularly harsh at this time. It's so interesting. The Joker laughed beside him. Hurry up, I want to see a river of blood. Me too. Harley Quinn excitedly popped her head out from the layers of plants of poison ivy. Why do you still have so much nonsense to talk about? Wouldn't it be better to fight until the last drop of blood in your body is drained? Then she was sealed by poison ivy with more plants in the next second. Chen Tao silently observed them. He remained calm. The black mist quietly spread to the Arkham people lying on the ground when no one noticed. With a clang, The claws pulled out their blades in unison. The White Owl Mask Man said, "Foolish choice. No matter what your reason is, you will soon regret what you are doing now." He said, "You still have a chance to apologize now." Bane tilted his head. If a 7 or 8-year-old girl did this action, it would be very cute, but when he, a muscular man over 2 meters tall, did it, it would only make people feel a kind of crazy beauty. And there is no doubt that this kind of crazy temperament is very suitable for Gotham. He pretended to think for half a second. "Thank you, but I refuse." "Well, it seems that you have made a decision, although it is a veritable suicide choice," the Owl Mask Man said, "but before the claws cut out your heart, I still want to figure out a question." "I can't figure it out." He was wearing a mask and his facial expression could not be seen. "Why? Even if we have only cooperated for such a short time, I know very well that you are not a chivalrous hero with great righteousness. Don't tell me any cold jokes about human relations. I don't believe a word of it." He said, "You are a thorough ambition, no different from Falcone and Maloney. The court has promised you the position you should have in the future city. How dare you not be grateful to us?" Bane did not answer. The Owl Mask Man shook his head and looked at the Joker. "What about you, you crazy clown? You wouldn't be stupid enough to dare to betray the court like Bane." "Oh, of course not." The Joker covered his heart. "Dear Owl Boss, you actually thought of me so much," he said indignantly. "Everyone in the underworld knows that I, the Joker, have always been loyal to one person," he said, "and everyone knows that Batman and I are mortal enemies." He walked to the side of a claw and put his arm around his shoulder familiarly. "This time I finally turned to an excellent boss like the Court of Owls. I don't want to lose my job." "Haha, haha, haha haha haha," he said. "I declare that I will part ways with Bane. After all, the Court of Owls is my best ally, I swish." As soon as he finished speaking, the strong acid corsage on his chest splashed the clawed assassin's face, and the next second, the Joker's knife stabbed into the other's chest. The Joker pounced on the claw assassin. Under the dual blessing of Titan Venom and Amber Gold, the opponent was like a wall standing there. The Joker laughed wildly while stabbing the dagger into the opponent's body, but he couldn't shake the opponent at all. But he just stabbed again and again, as excited and high as reproduction, as if he could absorb countless perverted and twisted pleasures from it. "What a pity." The voice of the Owl Mask Man was calm and indifferent. "It's hard to judge. You two, Batman too, chose to die for some boring reasons. A group of ridiculous puppets standing on the stage. You don't even know who the real master of this city is," he said slowly. "For hundreds of years, the Great Court of Owls has always controlled this city. Do you understand what enemy you are facing? How dare you?" "Oh, I dare," Bane said. "Oh, I dare," Chen Tao whispered in his heart. He hurried to use black fine sand to infiltrate the brains of the Arkham people. The nanorobots broke through their brains at the cellular level and swam to the center. The Joker stopped stabbing people. He sneered softly. "Oh, God, why do you think so? Of course I dare." Then the claws surrounded the only scarecrow who did not betray. "Scarecrow?" The Owl Mask Man looked at the scarecrow. "Oh no, don't get me wrong, the court." The scarecrow hurriedly got up from the ground and rubbed against the claws. "I absolutely want to cooperate with the court sincerely. I'm not a complete lunatic like the Joker and Bane," he emphasized loudly. "I'm a normal person, not like those lunatics." The Owl Masked Man repeatedly confirmed that the scarecrow was sincere and did not rush to attack the claws like the Joker. He nodded with satisfaction. "A wise choice. I'm afraid the controller of this city is already clear." Then, he snapped his fingers, and the muscle claws began to approach Bane and the other two. "It's time to clean the house," Bane sighed. "To be honest, I plan to squeeze every last drop of your usefulness out of you before I start." The Joker also sighed. "Right. After all, there aren't many toys as useful as you," Bane said. "Allies who are jaw-dropping in terms of both funding and political power can often come up with some eye-catching goodies," he said. "No matter who it is, seeing such an excellent ally, they will be very much looking forward to it. It's really scary that a humanoid weapon that can't be killed has lived in the city for hundreds of years," the Joker said. "It really makes people have an urge to worship it." But the most important point is," Bane said, But the unbearable point is, the Joker added, gutter trash like you are qualified to interfere in our fight? X2. Chapter 73 Explosive Killing. Well, you have completely exhausted my last drop of patience with you. Even through the mask, one could feel the owl-masked man's suddenly gloomy face. Well, let me teach you something. Looking at the claws that gathered around him, Bane pinched the knuckles on his fist. Drops of venom flowed from the bottle on his back through the pipe into his body, making his body grow bigger and bigger little by little. You, my terrible friends. You will learn two things for yourself. He held up a finger. First, to become Bane, you need more than just my venom. He pinched the face of the claw that pounced on him with one hand, and the tremendous strange force pressed his fingers into the opponent's skull. The muscular claws that were so arrogant just now seemed extremely weak in front of Bane. Bane grabbed the ankle of one of the claw assassins with his bare hands, swung him in a circle in the air, and slammed him hard on the ground, once, twice, just like swinging a plastic hammer to play whack-a-mole. You, bang, stop, bang, hand, bang. The claw assassin was lying on the ground with his legs up in the air, his muscles twisted, like twisted dough sticks, curled up on his body in a disgusting and ugly way. Bane kicked him directly, and then he rolled out, and lay on the ground like a pile of garbage. Well done. Killer Croc jumped up. That's the move. He pointed at Bane's two moves excitedly. That's how he beat me. Penguin rolled his eyes. Chen Tao immediately drove an Anorobits to spread over, and the skull of the claw that was cracked by Bane provided him with convenience, and black sand hurriedly drilled in. Second, if I gave you the power of venom, then why do you think you can use this power to fight me? The steel knife swung by the claw assassin broke on his tight skin, and Bane strangled the opponent's throat. Do you feel it? That's the feeling of the remaining hope gradually flowing out of your bodies and your war. Oh my god, what's going on? Lincoln March whispered in a low voice. This time he saw it clearly. The hood of the sharp claw assassin was knocked off just now. Lincoln March's pupils reflected the scene of the sharp claw approaching Bane. The originally blue-gray face suddenly became rotten and smelly, and the bulging muscles withered in an instant. The owl mask man could no longer maintain the posture of the master behind the scenes, and he stood up from his seat. What should we do, Court? Lincoln March said to the communication. What are you going to do? You are a bunch of ridiculous skeletons who should have died long ago. Let me teach you. Violating the laws of nature will lead to consequences, and in this world, nothing is truly immortal. Soon, Bane said, when your blood betrays you, when your body betrays you. Bane threw a withered claw to the ground. Without his strong physique, he let out a hysterical whine before touching the ground. The huge pain was unbearable even for the undead. He sobbed and straightened his body, like a fish stranded on the sea and about to drown. Bane's voice followed. The remaining potion will ensure that your body is tortured by severe pain, and this severe pain is an old friend I have known for a long time. However, unlike you, I have the strength and will to overcome it. The clown jumped up with a wild laugh. How about performing a magic trick? He rode directly on the head of a claw assassin and swung the blade to pierce the eyes of the claw fiercely. Dang dang. Please watch the real magic that will open your eyes and turn the world into pure black in a second. It doesn't matter. Put all the people on it. The owl masked man immediately ordered. Let those ordinary claws hiding around who have not had time to be transformed also take action. He shouted at Lincoln March. You take them. Take everyone. Cut out the hearts and lungs of these lunatics who dare to fool us. Lincoln March was in a complicated mood. The court had never suffered such a big loss, and it was obvious that the other party had already regarded him as the temporary leader of this claw army. At this moment, this might be the moment when he was most trusted by the court, but it was under the coercion of external forces, which made Lincoln March want to laugh. He whistled. Russell, Death Shooter shuddered. He raised his gun and stood back to back with the Cheshire Cat. I don't think it's good, Killer Croc said. More and more ordinary claws emerged from their hiding places around them, and they poured into the battlefield like a tide. There were too many people, so densely packed, and heads were everywhere. Poison Ivy groaned. Oh my god. The voice of the owl masked man returned to that high and mighty stench. Well, we have to admit that maybe they do have something beyond the court's expectations. But the matter ends here. We have more people, and this is an absolute gap in combat power. His voice gradually returned to a steady state. Now it's 3 digits against 1 digit. Really? The owl mask man stopped moving. He looked at Chen Tao. Click. Mr. Freeze slowly stood up from the ground. His armor gradually changed from red to sea blue in the next 2 seconds. He exhaled, and frost condensed on the ground, reflecting Victor's indifferent eyes. What's going on? Scarecrow said. Victor? Mr. Freeze ignored him. The next to stand up was Clayface. The clumps of mud finally reshaped and condensed into a shape. The huge mud monster stood there expressionlessly, like a sculpture cast in wax. Firefly climbed up. This villain who was good at using fire stood up like a zombie, first with his left foot bent upside down, then dragged half of his body, and the black mist in the air condensed into a hand, supporting him from behind. Then the next one. One by one, the Arkham villains slowly climbed up from the ground in various inhuman postures. They stood there expressionlessly. Scarecrow felt that his heart was grabbed by something invisible. What's going on? Penguin whispered to himself. This is unscientific. His eyes lingered on these Arkham colleagues, then turned to look at Batman. How do you control them? Just some tricks of tech, Mad Hatter. Chen Tao answered him. He rubbed his fingers. Lucius has always been an all-round scientist. Although he couldn't figure out how the Mad Hatter, an expert in the field of nerves, made those hats that can control people's hearts in a short time, just as a shipbuilder couldn't figure out the principle of a car in a short time. But if it was just a simple borrowing and plagiarism, knowing the result, but not the reason, there would be no problem in making some control chips. So, in short, Chen Tao exhaled. His body slowly decomposed into black sand, which made his lower body look like a walking spiral black hole. The criminals of Arkham slowly followed behind him, arching him in the center, as if following the king's subjects. The master of Gotham, the Bat King, who is the center of attention, curled his lips into a sinister smile. Are you ready for a massacre? Roar. The Arkham villains who were controlled by the chip opened their mouths and let out chaotic roars. Chapter 74 Face Scan. Each of the scum had a dull expression on his face. Strong, weak, with superpowers, just immortal. But today, at this moment, they were all controlled by the Mad Hatter's central nervous system control chip, the control of Batman. Although such simple and crude control made them not as powerful as before, and although such inhumane control weakened their wisdom, they were still the most dangerous group of people in the city. They were completely controlled by Batman, well, except for the Clayface, which seemed reasonable. After all, the Clayface itself was a pile of mud, and didn't even have a brain. If such a supernatural monster could be controlled by a chip, it would be strange, right? But he still chose to mix in with those controlled Arkhams, and beat up the assassins of the Court of Owls. Why was this? Chen Tao suddenly realized that the Clayface was a crazy histrionic personality. He just wanted to play different roles anytime and anywhere. At this moment, it was obvious that the role he wanted to play was a controlled Arkham person. Chen Tao was speechless for understanding the madman's thoughts so quickly. He always seemed to be able to quickly understand what was going on in other people's crazy minds. No matter how crazy and unrestrained their thoughts were, they could resonate with his brain. Chen Tao felt that this might be a kind of talent. The Joker looked at Batman, who was guarded by the entire Arkham, with his eyes flickering. He didn't know what he was thinking. Chen Tao waved his hand, and Mr. Freeze stopped attacking, and walked straight towards him. Victor, is Nora doing well recently? A claw wielding a samurai sword pounced on the two people who were talking. Chen Tao waved a black air, and the assassin was cut into 2 pieces in midair like a piece of chocolate cake with a liquor filling. The wine and honey sauce were all over the 2 people. It was really disgusting. Chen Tao looked at his hands with some melancholy. Damn it, when did his style become like this? Even if he didn't want to be a superhero forever, after he just crossed over and confirmed that he would have a superhero career, he had imagined being a popular superhero idol with a greasy face. When he landed, he would definitely land like a superhero, and as soon as he landed, there would be crazy female fans cheering desperately, shouting until they fainted from excitement on the spot, and he would grin and stick out his chin. But now, when he raised his hand, a black aura would appear, and when he flew, it was filled with dark aura, and his body would condense various black blades and weapons at any time, and he had completely become a villain. Sat. Chen Tao shook his head and cut off the divergent thoughts in his mind. Victor, I don't intend to make too many small talk. I think you are already cold enough. Chen Tao said directly. I need your help. I know very well that wisdom is power for you. Believe me, Tech's puppet-like manipulation is not my intention. The regenerative compound in the claw's blood is heat sensitive, which means that once the temperature is too low, their movements will slow down and become weaker than living people. Chen Tao said, and you are a master of controlling cold air. Only you can make the cold air affect the claws without hindering our actions. The wooden and indifferent expression faded from the face of Mr. Freeze Victor, and his eyes became lively again, staring at Chen Tao gloomily. He seemed to want to pounce on Batman, but his limbs were motionless and stood there straight. What makes you think I will help you, Batman? He shouted angrily. You're dreaming. I just want to shoot you with my freezing gun and chop your internal organs into pieces. He said, I want to wrap a rope around your soft pathetic neck and tie the knot to death, watching your eyes become depressed and your lips twitch as you pray in vain. Mr. Freeze cursed viciously. I just want you to die. He paused, then continued. The Court of Owls stole my technology to preserve the claws. If they want to control this city, they can't avoid the development of the claw's transformation, which means they are in urgent need of my technology. He looked at the scarecrow who was shivering on the side and sneered at his ugly appearance. The reason why the court values Scarecrow is only because of his ability to win over and control us Arkham people. Obviously, the people of Arkham can greatly enhance the power of the court. They need us. We are valuable, aren't we? Then why don't we sell ourselves for a good price, but turn to help you, our enemy? Mr. Freeze mocked. Yes, that's right. You are using Tech's little tricks to control us now. This is so and that. But why do you think this can threaten me? Mr. Freeze's expression was indifferent. Death does not scare me. Chen Tao knew that what the other party said was true. Mr. Freeze's heart was like bronze, and the simple and crude threat of death could not make him succumb. The court will never be stingy in promising me, even if I don't need it. And helping you? What benefit can I get? My gratitude. Chen Tao answered him directly. I beg for your help. Mr. Freeze was choked by this completely unconventional remark, and the words he wanted to say were stuck in his trachea. He laughed angrily. That's it? Your gratitude? Your plea? You are no longer short of money, Victor. Chen Tao said to him. You have robbed enough money to keep Nora alive. And your employment fee for so many years. Chen Tao said. Money can no longer buy you. Mr. Freeze shook his head. Do you think I will give up the favorable conditions that the Court of Owls may offer me for these? He looked at the Arkham people, Bane, Joker, and the claws fighting with them. You don't think that the Court of Owls will be finished after these claws are dealt with? He said. Scarecrow has told me how dangerous the Court of Owls is. Their conditions are 10,000 times better than yours. So, are you willing to help me, old friend? Mr. Freeze sighed. He is a mad scientist, a mercenary who does things for money. Although he only takes orders within Gotham, he is still a husband who loves his wife. But he has another identity, an identity he has had for a long time. He is Batman's villain, and a long-time enemy of Batman. He said slowly. You beg me? Yes. Chen Tao said. I beg you, I need your help. Mr. Freeze sighed again, and he said irresistibly. Okay, I will help you. Chen Tao breathed a sigh of relief. He originally wanted to threaten Mr. Freeze with his wife. He had never thought that he could use Mr. Freeze to his advantage just by relying on Batman's personality. If he hadn't succeeded in face recognition, he would have said, husband, don't you want your wife? This could also manipulate Victor and even make him do his best, but it would undoubtedly also gain new resentment from the other party. Now he could peacefully reach a cooperation intention, making the other party mistakenly think that he still had a choice, and then make his own choice. This is really the best situation. Chapter 75 Bat City. In short, it was a massacre. As time passed, the invincible claw assassins were defeated by the joint efforts of the entire Gotham. When Mr. Freeze, who was driving the cold wave, sprayed the last cold air on the battlefield, everything was over. The battle gradually stopped. The claw assassins were lying on the ground in all directions. Most of them were torn in half like pieces of paper and abandoned on the ground like a pile of broken toy dolls. Scarecrow was about to sneak away, but he bumped into Batman's chest. When he turned around, he heard the other party say expressionlessly, "Nuclear weapons, Crane." Crack. Bane twisted the neck of the last claw he could find, and the Joker slowly walked to his side. Bane did not continue to attack, but looked at Chen Tao with a playful look. "What?" Chen Tao lifted the Scarecrow's neck. "Don't play dumb. Clean. You know you stole the nuclear weapon from Copper Pat." "Ha, nuclear weapons? What are you talking about?" The Scarecrow replied, "I don't know anything about this." Then he showed the same sudden realization as the Riddler. "Oh, I see. So that's why you went to so much trouble to come here. Ha 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 ha." He began to laugh nervously, and the clown bit his lip. The Penguin next to him felt his head buzzing. You. He ran to the Scarecrow, also stood on tiptoe, and grabbed the outside of his shirt. "Don't joke with me, Clean. It's really not you who stole my nuclear bomb." He thought of a terrible fact. There are only a few people who have the motivation and ability to steal the nuclear bomb. If the nuclear bomb was not taken away by the Scarecrow, then it means. He remembered that the arms deal with Bane was tonight. It happened to be tonight, which was a coincidence. He thought about how he had contacted Scarecrow a few days ago to hand over Mayor Carlo to him, but the other party kept delaying, and the date was set by the other party, which happened to be tonight. And the Penguin's men should have started handing over the goods at about this time. If the time was so accurate, it meant that. The Penguin's phone rang, and he answered it with a gloomy face. There was a lot of noise on the other end of the phone, with gunshots and explosions. The Penguin heard his men shouting, "Damn it, boss. They are robbing each other, and don't want to pay for the weapons." The Penguin felt a surge of anger rushing from his feet to his head. He figured it out. That is, Bane not only stole his nuclear bomb, but also used the Emperor Penguin to cheat him of a bunch of things and a suggestion. And then today he got a lot of weapons and equipment for free. Plundering a sheep. "Yes, I stole the nuclear bomb." Chen Tao put down the Scarecrow. Bane revealed the truth. "Where should I start?" He turned his head to look at Lincoln March. The White Owl masked man still stubbornly did not hang up the call, even though many bodies lying in disorder were clearly visible on his computer screen. The White Owl masked man also looked at the other party. "Foolish, Bane. You will regret today one day in the future." The other party sat in the gutter, like a king who dominated the garbage dump. But what Bane said next made him unable to maintain such an attitude. The most expensive private residential area in Gotham, worth $58 million, and the upper 3 floors belong to the famous Pavas Hotel. The patriarch of the Pavas family, Joseph, and his wife Mariah also live there. The White Owl masked man hiding behind the screen finally stood up. "How do you know my address and identity?" "I have never. How dare you?" It was those words that were repeated over and over again. Chen Tao's ears were calloused from listening. Bane didn't speak. He just looked at Lincoln March, the silhouette projected by his armor, and it made people feel cold. It was the look of looking at a dead person. Then he blew gently. Whoosh. "Shameful betrayer. You will." Boom. The violent explosion and fire instantly drowned the video on the other side. Bane put his finger on the headset calmly. "Caveman, have you done it?" The other party's voice came from his headset. "Dead. Absolutely no problem, Bane." Bane spread his hands. "Amazing." Chen Tao commented. "You planned everything, right, Bane? The Court of Owls provided you with Electrum for free, and maybe also provided you with a lot of funds. And you turned around and killed their important people. You planned what happened today. I guess it's not just that. You may have a list of the true identities of other court members in your hand, right? You will kill them one by one and get rid of them all." No matter how many times he watched it, Chen Tao had to be amazed by Bane's leverage plan of getting something for nothing. "Oh. Penguin is even more unlucky. Not only was he stolen by you, but he was also robbed by you. Scarecrow first worked for you for free, and then became your scapegoat to attract me to fight him to the death. And you calmly hid the nuclear bomb. Now that the Court of Owls and Scarecrow are finished, you can take it out at any time to threaten the entire city, even the entire country, and threaten me so as to completely conquer Gotham." Chen Tao said, "Everything is going according to your plan. At this time, you must feel that most things are under your control, right?" Bane was a little stiff. At that moment, he kept reviewing his plan in his mind to see if there were any omissions. He calculated everything Batman should know. What did he miss? You have calculated everything I can mobilize, Bane. Even just now on the plane, you were trying to hack into the Batplane to find out what Robin and I were talking about, right? But the more scheming a person is, the more likely he will fall into unexpected difficulties. The more complicated the plan and the more sophisticated the equipment, the more likely it is to be stuck by an unexpected pebble. Chen Tao said, it only takes one person you don't expect. Crash. Why have you never considered that you also sent your men out to steal the Black Penguin's goods and murder the members of the court according to the list, causing the power guarding the nuclear bomb to gradually become empty? Why do you think I will do nothing while you are executing the plan? Lincoln March silently lowered his arm and walked to Chen Tao's side. Bane stared at him closely. An unexpected existence, a person without any signs. He is obviously a member of the Court of Owls. How did he get involved with Batman? Is there a possibility that I'll let you plan all this just to find the place where you store the nuclear bomb at this time? Bane's phone rang. An enemy suddenly broke in, and their target is the thing you told us to protect. It can't be stolen. Bane said immediately. This thing has been stolen. Damn it. Bane said angrily, with your strength, how could you not stop it? I have obviously retained a lot of manpower. It's the claws, Bane. The claws of the Court of Owls. They also used your Titan venom. They are all missiles. We can't stop them. So, the most important point is, Bane. Chen Tao said, this is Batman's city. He whispered, this is Batman's home court. Finally finished writing. So sleepy. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.